Ladies and gentlemen, the premiere event that you've all been waiting for. CBS News presents a town hall with Erika Kirk. It's time to pop a perky and get Charlie Kirky. As you guys know, Israel's most loyal and yet most incompetent soldier, Barry Weiss, became the editor-in-chief of CBS News not that long ago, after CBS News was purchased by the Ellisons, with the express purpose of making CBS News more pro-Israel and more pro-right-wing. Now, the amount of success that Barry Weiss will have in this new role will most likely be limited because she is uniquely uncharismatic and does not have an eye for talent and is not really good at the thing that she is destined to do here, right? But make no mistake, I don't think her success is measured with new eyeballs or audience retention. And instead, it's measured by how much pro-Israel propaganda she will do and how much pro-right-wing propaganda she will do. But in an effort to garner attention around CBS News, Barry Weiss wanted to do a town hall with the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erika Kirk. And from what I understand, from what the brief clips that we saw promoting this event, it was a spectacular disaster. Now we'll look at the entire event that has been talked about this whole week leading up to this very moment. It took place last night, and try to figure out exactly what the goals were here from Barry Weiss. But of course, the preliminary questions were leaked in order to fill the town hall with people as sympathetic to, Barry Weiss's worldview as possible. And once again, as I said already, big advertisers appear to be wary of CBS News' Barry Weiss town hall format. It's just not, it's not good. It's not good content. It's silly. It's shitty. It's transparent propaganda peddling with a very specific direction. And she's already flopping. But that's basically Barry Weiss's entire career. You know what I mean? That's her career. This whole time, she's just failed upward because her entire purpose on this planet is to brown-nose billionaires. She plays to an audience of very few but very powerful individuals. And it's been truly tremendously beneficial for her and her only. How's the ankle injury? I'm still limping. All right, let's continue.
Breaking news out of Utah Valley University.
There's an emergency response there, flooded by law enforcement.
The conservative activist Charlie Kirk has died after being shot during an event.
The latest horrible example of what appears to be a rising tide of political violence.
In the past year, we've seen assassinations and assassination attempts against a Republican presidential candidate, Democratic legislators, and a conservative activist.
One moment, Charlie was doing what he loved.
That's a different question.
Arguing and debating on campus. Fighting for the gospel.
Thinking way too simple about this. You got to go deeper.
Truth. In front of a big crowd, and then he blinked. He blinked. And saw his Savior in paradise.
Even as he had all of these.
Yeah, this was also so desperate, bro. Barry Weiss at CBS News on the same day 2 students were shot and killed at Brown University. Insane, dude. Like, they were so aggressively pumping this. They were like, please watch this town hall. Please watch this town hall. 59,000 views in 17 hours. Oh my Lord. People's commentary surrounding this town hall will garner millions and millions of views, mostly shitting on the town hall, shitting on Barry Weiss, shitting on Erika Kirk even. Who knew that when CBS hired Barry Weiss, they were not only getting someone unqualified to run a network, but also an amazing on-air talent to be the face of their network, since she seems so determined to be on air more than anyone else. It's awesome. It's awesome. Why are we about to watch the shit that no one has watched? Oh no, this will drive discourse. This will drive discourse. And like I said, millions and millions of people will talk about this. It just won't be pro CBS, pro Barry Weiss, pro Israel, or pro Erika Kirk. That's why we're watching it.
Positions, many of them seen as controversial on different issues. He had a huge galaxy of support on America's right.
When you stop the conversation, when you stop the dialogue, this is what happens. When we lose the ability and the willingness to communicate, we get violence.
If you were to do this like maybe a week after Charlie Kirk was shot, this would have driven some interest and some positive feelings, I guess. Okay. But 3 months after, when everyone is on the Kirkification tip, when everyone is suspicious of Erika Kirk in general and has seen a lot of Erika Kirk and don't like it, it's just not. I mean, it's not going to bang at all.
CBS News presents A Town Hall with Erika Kirk.
Good evening. I'm Barry Weiss, editor-in-chief of CBS News, and I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let me tell you why we're here. If you're watching this or you're sitting here in this room with me, you know what I know, which is that we live in a very divided country, a country where many people feel that they can't speak across the political divide. Sometimes they feel they can't even speak across their own kitchen table. And one of the goals of the new CBS News is to change that. And this town hall is just the beginning. This is going to be the first of many conversations and debates on CBS News about the things that matter most, which are often the hardest to talk about.
Yeah, things that matter most. Erika Kirk's personal feelings. We're here to talk about things that matter most to Americans, okay? Not the price of groceries or anything lame like that. Things that matter most to most Americans, which is Erika Kirk's feelings, Donald Trump's feelings maybe, and how the left is actually dividing the country.
I can make one promise to you, and it's this. You will not agree with everything you hear tonight or in any of these other broadcasts. And that is exactly the point. Because the premise of a democracy is that we persuade each other with words and not violence, and that the only way to get to the truth is by talking to one another. And that brings me right to tonight's guests, Erika Kirk. 3 months ago, Erika Kirk...
I'd be more concerned if she was better at eyeball retention, you know? It's the very fact that she is dog shit at her job. It's the very fact that she has never been like a ratings boon, never been able to reach genuine success in the independent sphere that makes this whole thing a lot funnier. Like if you had like a good propagandist that was doing pro-Israel propaganda at CBS News, I'd be more worrisome. But the very fact that it's Barry Weiss doing it and she's absolutely dog shit at her job makes this really funny.
Kirk's husband, Charlie, was assassinated on a college campus in Utah. To some, Charlie Kirk was controversial. To others, he was heroic. What is indisputable is that he transformed the American right in the 21st century. He did it through an organization called Turning Point USA, which he founded when he was only 18 years old. In the wake of Charlie's murder, Erika has now picked up his mantle. The mother of 2 young children, she is also now the CEO and chairwoman of Turning Point. Now, Charlie's murder was not an isolated tragedy. And tonight in the audience, we have other victims of the political violence that's ripping through this country. We also have religious leaders, college students, young Christians, and others invited by CBS News. You're going to be hearing from some of them tonight. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. So, Erika, let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I was very grateful when you had reached out because it was an opportunity to be able to have a conversation that Charlie always enjoyed, being able to have dialogue on both sides so that people could really hear everything that's going on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for making the time. There's so many subjects I want to cover.
This whitewashing is so crazy, brother. Yeah, Charlie Kirk loved making a mockery of college freshmen with pre-canned statements, locked in the chamber, ready to release. And he would cut people that would actually destroy him in said marketplace of ideas to do pro-Trump and pro-Trump agenda propaganda. That's it. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Look at what's happening here. Hello. Little lady. What are we doing here? Little lady is bored. No, you can't get up here. No, hold on. Here. Daddy is injured. I can't pick you up, little lady. You're too big. You're too big now. I know you want uppies, but she's trying to protect you from Erika Kirk. She wants to carry the flame, dude. That's what it is. That's what it is. She wants to carry the flame herself. She's like, come on, Dad, let me carry the flame a little bit. Look. She's trying to put her paws on my lap to try to get up here. You want to get up here? Is this what you want? Here, look. Oh. About to break my other leg too. Let her speak. What do you want to say, Kaya? What do you want to say? Oh, ow. No. You're stepping on my foot. Oh, okay. No, it's too much. It's too much. Ow. Okay. Kaya, come on. No. It's too much. Lady, no, that doesn't mean come through tackle the other side. Oh God. About the crutch up again. Uncle's Wash can't even pick up a puppy anymore. I know. All right, let's continue.
Mm-hmm. I want to begin with the hours and days after your husband was murdered.
Yes.
You got up in his podcast studio where he broadcasted from for many hours every day.
Yeah.
And you said this. You said, you have no idea what you have just unleashed. What did you mean by that?
Let me give you a little background of that day. We get home.
Yeah, she was like, you have no idea what you've unleashed. And then what she unleashed was just mid. Genuinely her worst, genuinely, she is her own worst PR person. It was so crazy when they were like, oh, you've just activated 1 million Charlie Kirks, which literally did happen. It did. They unleashed 1 million Charlie Kirks. It's just not in the way that they thought that they would. You know? Kirkification has been so prominent a fixture of modern internet now.
The team goes to dinner. I'm laying in my daughter's bed, and I can't sleep. It took me months to even walk into my bedroom.
Yeah, I saw
I'm
this.
laying in my daughter's bed. I can't sleep. I grab my phone, and I start typing out it.
335 likes. We are Charlie Chirp. How can Barry Weiss claim to be impartial and then do this shit glazing the hell out of Kirk? The thing is, if Barry Weiss wasn't such a rapacious dick rider of right-wing politics in general, maybe she could just activate some bleeding heart liberals. But because she's both pro-Trump and pro-Charlie Kirk and pro-Israel, she's all of the things that most liberals have a distaste for. Everybody understands that she is just using CBS News like a fleshlight as a vehicle for unlimited right-wing propaganda, and everybody hates it. It's actually negatively polarizing liberals towards whatever the she's trying to do. Yeah, they want to also purchase CNN too now. The Ellisons want to purchase CNN too. She's going to brick every major mainstream institution with her negative aura and her unlimited right-wing propaganda.
That morning,
You have two people here that are just so deeply uncharismatic, but desperately want to be in the spotlight. Sometimes it's okay to let other people do that role if they're better at that role than you are, you know?
the team reached out to me and said, they think they got the guy. You should probably say thank you to the authorities and just make a statement. I said, okay. I wasn't afraid. They said, let's go to the office and let's discuss. We're at the office and they say, do you want to go live? Or we can easily, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. We can easily pre-record this. I said, absolutely not. My husband always went live. I have nothing to hide. We're fully transparent. What you see is what you get. If I start breaking down on live TV, I break down on live TV. My husband was assassinated. He didn't die in a car accident. So we go live. I write all of my own speeches. And when I said that, that is the Holy Spirit that is unleashed.
Oof.
That is a revival that's unleashed. That's not meant for call to violence. That's meant for people to understand that the Lord is moving in ways we have no idea. And God is going to use something so tragic to wake people up to realize that our life is short. He only lived 31 years. 31 years. And so, yes, you have no idea what has been unleashed. But I will promise until my last...
I got a pretty good idea. I'm seeing it. It's maxed out Kirkification, you know? They did unleash 1 million Charlie Kirks, it's true.
Breath, that I will let the Lord use me in ways that he only can. Oof. To bring glory to him and to the kingdom. And it has been unbelievably powerful. And it's just the beginning.
Erika, one of the most alarming things about Charlie's murder was the way that some people in this country reacted to it.
Yeah.
And not just online. This was an idea that you encountered a lot. And the idea was this. They kind of justified it. They basically said that because Charlie said or believed things that they believed were controversial or even hateful, that he somehow had it coming. What do you say to people who justified his death?
You're sick. He's
slow
a
zoom.
Human being.
So slow zoom, camera panning. It's so rehearsed. And once again, this is 7 minutes in. It's the first line of inquiry from Barry, right? The first line of inquiry is trying to rehash old ass, dusty ass nachos here. Okay. Microwaving dusty ass nachos to be like, well, don't you feel like it's really up that the left was celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination because of simple disagreements and differences in opinion? Society has already moved on from that. The new meta is Israel killed Charlie Kirk, right? You can't pander to this narrative any longer because the overwhelming majority of salient talking points are actually coming from the right. There is a much newer meta right now that they're all aware of. And part of the reason why this narrative didn't work, even though the administration tried as aggressively as they could to, one, prop up Charlie as a martyr for truth and for speech. And there were plenty of liberals and mainstream outlets that also played along with this. Ezra Klein comes to mind. Charlie Kirk was doing politics the right way, you know? That all fell apart because of the questions that people had and the interest that people had towards this very high-profile assassination, and the heavy-handed nature of Trantifa narratives kind of falling apart when they found out that it was a good old boy that actually was responsible for the assassination. They went from, this is a trans person that definitely did this, clearly a transgender activist, only to cut away at that overwhelming narrative when they found out that it was a Mormon from a good family, white, right? So now there was no messaging discipline. People just like, some people were mad that they weren't hitting the Trantifa line as hard. And then Candace Owens came out of nowhere and was like, this is Israel. Israel did this. And then Benjamin Netanyahu came out of nowhere and was like, Israel did not do this. Many people are saying Israel did this. I had to take time out of my, baby starvation and baby annihilation machine command to deliver this 3-minute video about how Israel could not have done this. Please don't say Israel did this. Like, guys, please don't say Israel killed Charlie Kirk. My t-shirt that I'm wearing that clearly says Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk is inviting a lot of questions that is answered by the t-shirt itself. What's going on?
You're sick. He's a human being. You think he deserved that? Tell that to my 3-year-old daughter.
It's crazy. I don't think anyone should do that to a 3-year-old child.
Excuse me. You want to watch in high res the video of my husband being murdered and laugh and say he deserves it? There's something very sick in your soul, and I pray that God saves you. I pray, because that is what is so wrong. The internet in this world has dehumanized us. My husband did something.
Once again, alting, but too early, and alting in the wrong moment. But also, like, the internet has dehumanized people is a crazy statement to make in defense of people making fun of your assassinated husband, when Charlie Kirk personally played a formative role in dehumanizing so many people, whether it be Muslims and Islam being a sword to the neck of Western civilization, or transgender people with regular frequency talking about how crazy they are, how we must take away their medication, talking about women in general, saying that they have no place in the workforce and must stay in a more traditional setting, a more traditional format. Like, he was, by design, a right-wing propagandist and a stooge for Trump. And therefore, he was actively working to dehumanize Haitian people, leaning into the whole Haitians are eating cats and dogs conspiracy theories that were incredibly racist, leaning into the notion that every brown person should be a suspected migrant that is here to do crimes, to do violence. Every victim of police violence that is black actually deserved said police violence, saying that school shootings are unfortunately a byproduct of the freedoms that we have in terms of gun ownership, and that's a sacrifice he's willing to make. Well, he died in a school shooting. It's going to be quite difficult for people who have experienced one of the different ways in which Charlie Kirk has dehumanized people with his commentary to offer sympathy in that moment. His last words were talking about school shootings or mass shootings in the country. His last words were counting or not counting gang violence, where he thought this was a good racialized deflection away from the main point of contention, which I know the guy who asked him that question is going to be in this town hall, demanding fealty, demanding loyalty, demanding reverence, and especially the heavy-handed ways in which the administration instantly tried to punish people for not only like making a mockery of Charlie Kirk in the aftermath of his untimely demise, but even simply relitigating some of the things that he had said. Like, there were people that were being fired for just posting Charlie Kirk quotes that he was very proud to say in public, in broad daylight, things that weren't being misconstrued, but instead things that he actively and deliberately repeated over and over again. If you're proud of those statements, When you're alive, why wouldn't you be proud when those very own words are reflected back? It's ridiculous.
Something very simple. He talked to people. You're going to be murdered for talking to people. He didn't go after people. He went after your ideas. And if you think it's okay to murder someone because you think they had it coming for them, because they took the time to have people come to the front of the line if they didn't agree with you, and you think it's okay because you don't like what they say or how they say it, that they should be murdered, and you're enjoying it, and you're...
Yeah, this kind of like vague generalization is also another way to try and, I guess, remember Charlie Kirk with the limited confines of how you're supposed to remember Charlie Kirk. You can't say what his job was. You can simply say he was a conservative activist. You can't actually reflect on some of the points that he was consistently advancing. You just have to say he's interested in disagreements and discourse and debate, right? There's a right way to talk about Charlie Kirk, and there's a wrong way to talk about Charlie Kirk. Well, his job was to be a mouthpiece for this administration, a mouthpiece for this movement. I don't understand why you're so ashamed. And before people say, Hassan, you did the same job, what if people reminded you of your worst moments or your worst quotes in terms of like, America deserved 9/11, right? In the aftermath of, hopefully this doesn't happen, but I get assassinated. And everyone's like, oh, well, remember when you said America deserved 9/11? There are some things that I have said that are understandable to reflect on, okay? But the overwhelming majority of quotes that people would present that my haters love recirculating and recycling are not even in the direction. And I'm saying the 9/11 thing is separate from this, right? But not even in the same direction of my advocacy. Whereas with Charlie Kirk, it was directly verbatim, not only his quotes, not out of context, but it was also in the direction of the things that he believed, right? Like if you were to turn around and be like, oh, Hassan, I don't know, like even in the most negative framing in the aftermath of my assassination, if someone were to be like, even in the most negative framing, if they were to be like, oh, he was an anti-Semitic terrorist, right? Why was he an anti-Semitic terrorist? Well, because he believed that people are, of course, going to resist against Israeli occupation, because he humanized the victims of Israel's settler colonial violence. That's why he's an anti-Semitic terrorist. Yeah, if you were to have that conversation, I think most people would realize like, oh, never mind, you're a piece of shit for saying that. But with Charlie Kirk, it's like, even if you entertain like where he was coming from with respect to, black female pilots. I'm thinking of like one of his chosen issues that he would talk about. DEI has created an environment where like if there's ever a plane crash or whatever, it's because there's probably like a black woman who is a pilot. And Charlie Kirk talked about how Charlie Kirk would talk about how he would be scared if he walked into a plane and saw a black woman as a pilot. How do you describe that? The motivating principle there and your worldview there is very clearly racist. Oh, he just wanted, he wanted the best possible person to actually be in charge of a role that is so important for, safety and security for the hundreds of people that they're, flying. Okay, but you don't think a black woman is capable of being the best possible person for that job. It's that very same question that is at the heart of our disagreement with Charlie Kirk. It's that very same problem. The automatic assumption that a black woman is incapable of being the most qualified person is the issue here. That's what I mean when I say these aren't bastardizations of Charlie Kirk's worldview. These are accurate reflections of the things that he advocated for. Okay? Kaya Place is now your most famous quote instead of the 9/11 one? Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's just more so a reflection of how online you are. Yeah, I would see a bunch of doors open. I got to pee. Kaya Place. Okay.
Rejoicing in that?
Doors open.
That is evil. Evil. Excuse me.
As you know, and as I know, one of the ideas that has gained a lot of traction among young people, especially in this country, Erika, is, and this leads them to this kind of justification, is the idea that words.
Yeah, is that he would often talk about how DEI hired people were people that were stealing jobs from qualified white people. He directly saw them as stealing. That's a verbatim quote. Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Themselves are violence. And that brings us tonight to.
I'm with you, but any conservative saying this is obviously going to say that Kirk did believe black women could be competent pilots and that his comment was about a supposed elevated risk of a black woman only being there because of DEI, not because she's competent. How should one respond to that? My dad is lighting the kitchen on fire again. I don't know if you guys can hear the beeping in the background. Baba! Oh my God. Okay. The point here is that this is based around a false assumption that black people are only elevated to that position because they're black. That's the whole point. It's the false assertion that it's a misunderstanding and a false assertion that black people are only elevated to that position because they're black. That's not true. Also, look at her eyes. Oh my God. Anyway, so Barry here asks like lightly the rhetoric, the dehumanizing rhetoric here.
People, especially in this country, Erika, is, and this leads them to this kind of justification, is the idea that words themselves are violence. And that brings us tonight to our first audience question. It comes from Angel Eduardo. Angel is a senior writer and editor for the civil libertarian group, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, and he writes passionately about issues of free speech. Angel.
Thank you, Barry. Excuse me. Hi, Erika. My condolences. A recent survey that we took after Charlie's assassination found that 90% of undergraduates believe to some extent that words can be violence. Another FIRE survey that we took earlier also found that 1/3 of surveyed students believe that using violence to stop disfavored speech can be acceptable, at least in rare cases. What's your response to those numbers? And what would you say to those students in particular?
Well, for the people who say that my husband might have incited violence.
As far as like FIRE being pro Kirk in any way, shape, or form here is also crazy because it's a First Amendment auditor institution. And Charlie Kirk quite literally had a teacher, like had a hit list for college professors that the Turning Point USA organization thought were dangerous, were teaching dangerous things. If you were like a sociology professor, for example, well, that's unacceptable. How dare you teach sociology? That's dangerous. You must be fired. It brought a lot of unwelcome scrutiny and even harassment to many college professors all around the country, simply claiming that this was, in favor, simply claiming that this person who is responsible for such a list is in favor of free speech unconditionally is a little ridiculous. But then again, that is precisely the type of inconsistent free speech defense that Bari Weiss likes, because Bari Weiss herself has made a career out of talking about, Bari Weiss herself has made a career about talking about how cancel culture is run amok on college campuses and how we have to make space for, reactionary ideals and whatnot, which they very clearly do exist on college campuses, obviously, while simultaneously advocating to fire teachers for being Palestinian or recognizing the humanity of Palestinians. So just something to consider as far as that inconsistency. Also, another thing that I find very funny about like the liberal ass attitude is that these guys have made a mockery of the statement words are violence professionally for years and years, only to turn around and launch that exact same attitude towards their left flank. Words are violence was mocked endlessly on the right, only to turn around and say that about the Charlie Kirk assassination, even like, oh, words are violence is bullshit unless we can tie that back to a larger narrative about how the Democrats are responsible for all the violence in this country with their words. And when you listen to the words of the Democrats, you're like, where is the violence here? These guys are, if anything, like the biggest criticism against the Democrats from their own base is that they're too cowardly, that they don't actually fight back hard enough against the growing reactionary movement in this country. So it just doesn't work at all.
I know that was not your question, but I'm going to put a squash on it before anyone else can attach to that. My husband never incited violence. He never once said, go after them because they're saying X, Y, Z and they deserve to die. My husband never once said that, and he never would. What did he say? Come to the front of the line. I'll put my mic down. Tell me why you believe that. Well, that's interesting. I never thought of that. But have you thought of this? People heckling, laughing at them. Stop. It took a lot of courage for them to come up here. Stop doing that. He gave them a microphone. He didn't take away a moment for them to speak back. He gave them a microphone. And what they do, they gave him.
He literally routinely did exactly those things. And his entire job was to do bottom of the barrel dunks on these people that were demonstrating a common viewpoint that was antagonistic to the Trump agenda. And his goal was to make a mockery of them after the fact in the editing floor. And Charlie Kirk himself also made, he wanted to bail the Paul Pelosi attacker, dude. What are you talking about? This kind of Kirk revisionism is so ridiculous. It's so silly. The entire, not to mention the million George Floyd posts, but the entire medium that he just basically stole from Steven Crowder, Change My Mind, is built around this false premise as well. There is no minds being changed there, okay? There's no mind being changed there at all. The whole purpose of that is to cut propaganda by making a mockery of commonly shared opinions. Yeah, here he is calling for people to be
in
killed.
This Rachel costume and the uniform, etc. And she comes back and and she's like, now I'm just talking as Rachel. And she goes, the reason I'm this way is because I'm Christian. And in the Bible, it says, love your neighbor. And really, I approach people in love. And if you're not doing that, I guess you're not really following the Bible. She didn't say that part, you're not following the Bible, but that was kind of the underlying piece there. So Charlie, what's going on with that?
Well, let's let her say it. 120, I'll respond, and then I got to dash.
I've shared prayers on here before and said, God bless. And that's because my faith is really important to me. And it's also one reason why I love every neighbor. In Matthew 22, a religious teacher asked Jesus, what's the most important commandment? And Jesus says to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. There's no greater commandments than these. I believe it's mentioned 8 times, love your neighbor. So yes, everyone belongs, everyone's welcome, everyone is treated with empathy and respect. It doesn't say love every neighbor except. There are so many reasons I stand strong in love. I stand with everyone. That's who I am. And the love back and the God bless if you disagree is genuine.
Andrew?
I would just, to Jack's point, I'm dying to know, like, what do you think when Miss Rachel quotes scripture in that way?
I mean, Satan's quoted scripture plenty.
It doesn't just say love your neighbor, though. It does say love your neighbor, except in a sense.
As yourself, but hold on. She's not totally wrong when she says, first of all, the first part is Deuteronomy 6:3-5. The second part is Leviticus 19. So you love God. So you must love his law. How do you love somebody?
Here we go, folks.
You love them by telling them the truth, not by confirming or affirming their sin. And it says, by the way, Miss Rachel, you might want to crack open that Bible of yours. In a lesser referenced part of the same part of Scripture is in Leviticus 18, is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. So, Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters.
I mean, that's one of the worst arguments, but here's a better one.
And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero Someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like 30 or 40,000 bucks. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions. And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot...
This is the guy who tried to kill Paul Pelosi. This inherent hypocrisy is really annoying to people in the margins, okay? But it's at the heart. It's at the heart of conservative commentary. It's the same thing that you see from Nick Fuentes posting a viral tweet about how BBC was actively calling on him to kill himself and how devastating that is for him. Brother, your most famous moment before this was saying your body, my choice on the night of the Trump election victory. He was upset that on a BBC broadcast, they were like, Ash Sarkar said, follow your leader when talking about Nick Fuentes. No, I know. I'm talking about Fuentes, not Kirk now. I'm saying this kind of hypocrisy is baked into right-wing commentary all the time. They literally will say the most unhinged and violent shit. Their entire worldview and their entire commentary revolves around being as edgy, as ruthless, as violent as possible. And in many circumstances, they can basically get away with this kind of violence, or violent rhetoric rather, by simply demanding more of it from the state. There's a difference between, saying we need to kill everyone in Iraq versus we need the American military to show them what's what. They're both saying the same things, but one is able to hide under the banner of legality as long as it's the state that's dishing out said violence. There's a difference between saying we got to take matters into our own hands with black people who are super violent and we have to give that violence back to them versus saying police brutality is a necessary byproduct of dealing with like high crime neighborhoods. Okay? And if you're a right winger, you can always do the second thing. You don't even need to do the first thing, right? And some still take it beyond that measure. Charlie Kirk, in many instances, has taken it beyond that. And Nick Fuentes takes it beyond the permissible bigotry all the time. Because Nick Fuentes' primary goal, I think, is to expand the permission structure of anti-Semitism and racism and all of these different forms of bigotries. But the hypocrisy is still there. And I think a lot of people get annoyed with it. One example that's all over the timeline right now is Asmongold talking or responding to this statement from Vadim. In the future, we'll all take turns being sued by psychotic asshole millionaires and then criticized by brain-damaged Nazi-sympathizing incel roach when we eventually break down as 13-year-old edgelords, MAGA dorks, and boss cheer them on and rinse and repeat. To which he replied with, shouldn't have been talking shit and making things up about people. People like you have no problem participating in reputation destruction, manipulation, and large-scale gaslighting so long as it serves your ideological goals. That's why they cheer and you deserve it. This is a weak person trying to present themselves as a strong person, okay? But the hypocrisy, of course, is that Asmongold has actively engaged in reputation destruction over and over again. The reason why I brought up Nick Fuentes and now I'm bringing up Asmongold while we're talking about Charlie Kirk is because it's a common through line on the political right. They do it all the time. And it's one of the most annoying things that I see with regular frequency. And Nyara responded to that, said, you want to talk about reputation destruction? You're a piece of shit who spreads transphobia, normalizes far-right propaganda, and you deserve to not just be called out, but face real-world consequences for the hate you're spreading. You're not some hero of free speech. You suck. Okay? To which Bo Blacks responded with, if Hassan Piker or iDubbbz was caught being this openly and blatantly hypocritical, there would be a video uploaded about it by 20 different big YouTubers within 12 hours of it happening, but that won't happen here because this Asmongold doing it. The bias towards him is nuts right now. The entire slop tuber commentariat on the internet is all over his nuts in the same exact way that mainstream media is oftentimes all over the nuts of right-wing commentary people. They just refuse to recognize the inherent hypocrisy in this kind of statement. They refuse to call into question calling the question that these guys are like very clearly lying. I don't know anything about Bo Blacks, by the way. I have no idea. There's a bunch of people saying like Bo Blacks, extremely rare Bo Blacks W. I don't know, but regardless, Bo Blacks was a slop tuber in your hater orbit. Oh, nice. But this is part of the reason why the overarching prevailing narrative in both mainstream discourse and also discourse on the internet, on the independent sphere, is so slammed in the right. These guys refuse to cover this shit. And most people that are too busy with their 9-to-5s that get all of their notes from like, you know, random slop tubers to at least be in the know are completely oblivious to this stuff. Do you understand? That's how you inadvertently design a media landscape where it is always people who are on the left that are under tremendous amounts of scrutiny, oftentimes not even like legitimate scrutiny, being called hypocrites for things that they don't even believe, for example, or being called out for political positions that they don't even hold, because there's an endless need to bastardize and vilify the political left on the internet, same as in mainstream media as well. And no one calls into question. Yeah, the 3/5 Twitter post Asman made would have absolutely been breaking news on all platforms if you did something remotely similar, is 100% correct. And that's exactly why this very same guy and his community that has vilified me as an anti-Semitic terrorist for the last 2 years for contextualizing and analyzing why people resist militarily against Israel's occupation and violence, damn near a century of violence, colonial violence, are the very same people who very openly say Nick Fuentes is based. The very same people that collaborated with the ADL. The very same people that actively collaborated with the ADL to deplatform people like myself, then turn around and openly say Nick Fuentes is based as shit, or wanting to collab with Nick Fuentes, laughing along with his praise of Hitler. Not a peep from Dan Stalkman or Ethan, the supposed fighters against anti-Semitism. Not a peep from the slop tubers. Yeah, this is it. Why is this allowed on television, BBC News? This type of violent rhetoric is totally unacceptable, especially in this political climate. This person should be fired and banned immediately. Enough is enough. You're Nick Fuentes, man. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that 80,000 people like this tweet. Guy who's famous for saying Hitler is based on Piers Morgan and got a lot of prominence after Trump's victory for saying your body, my choice about women potentially having more of their autonomy removed, like celebrating rape culture, all this shit, is now crying foul about violent rhetoric. But that's where we're at. If you have this extremely centrist approach to political discourse that rarely ever invites any scrutiny to far-right figures, right-wing figures, and you spend most of your time browsing the content of people who seemingly only have a lot of smoke for those who are ostensibly or even marginally on the left of the current modern Democratic Party, then what is the expectation? Of course, people are going to think, yeah, Nick Fuentes is right. Why is it? It is rather hypocritical that, this guy who has done nothing wrong is getting called out like this. Oh, I guess they just say everyone's a Nazi. And I guess they're saying that Nick Fuentes is a Nazi so they can justify harming him. Because that's the prevailing narrative on the right. The reason why I'm saying this is because I don't think every single slop tuber is straightforwardly a Hitler-loving, anti-Semitic neo-Nazi. I don't think so. I think they just lean into this stuff because they see that it gets them clicks. I think they're opportunists for the most part. And the reason why I bring this up every now and then is because I hope they see the dangers of the media landscape that they are cultivating. Some are, by the way. Some are definitely invested in this stuff ideologically. But I think the grifters don't realize that they are also creating a breeding ground for this kind of sentiment by routinely hyper-focusing on cultivated drama and manufactured outrage against those who are on their left. Most of these grifters don't realize that this toxic media environment that they've cultivated will inevitably harm them too, unless they become neo-Nazis. And I believe some will, but not many others will. Asman said earlier that this community is ground zero for creating anti-Semitism. See, that's what I mean. These guys don't have any like genuine, they don't have, if you don't have any real worldview other than being a troll, that's how it works. One day you say Nick Fuentes is base for saying he loves Adolf Hitler, and then the next day you say, I'm ground zero for creating anti-Semitism. There's no consistency, but well, there's only one consistency. It's the left. Okay? There's no ideological consistency there. No matter a policy is important. There's no policy that's actually important here. There's no like ideological conviction. There's no moral backbone here. It's just the left. And you do that with whichever direction you have at your disposal. Sometimes that means, collaborating with the ADL. And in many other instances, it's actually shitting on the ADL when the ADL releases a report about Steam having like too much anti-Semitism or something. But like I've said, I wish that the otherwise self-described liberal slop tubers, TikTokers, and the like would recognize that they are contributing to this media environment.
A bullet in the neck. Totally different. But you have secular revolutionaries that want to come out and say, you can't say that, and I'm going to stop you from saying it. I'm going to... Why? You don't have a conversation. Something as simple as a conversation. And this is what is so fascinating to me.
Secular revolutionaries.
My husband knew that something as simple as having a conversation could change the world.
You can't be talking about me because I was actually going to have a conversation with Charlie.
That is an ancient thing. Come and sit down and have coffee with me. Why do you believe what you believe? 80s and 90s, they were doing this in Congress, then going to have a Subway afterwards. Why don't we do that anymore? Instead, it's violence. Usually one-sided. I'm not going to go there.
Wait, what? You did go there.
But you know
just
what's
now.
so interesting about my husband's book? The last book he will ever write. It could have been about politics. It could have been about football. It could have been about anything. He was multidimensional. It literally says, stop in the name of God. Stop. Stop the violence. Stop the hate. Have a conversation. Stop. And what he knew in that book was not just so much stop that, take a minute to get off of your phone and realize that we are all human, operating on this broken planet, all sinful, no one's perfect, and we're not getting out of here alive. But what he knew in that book was the balancing factor of communication. You cannot communicate with someone if you're not at peace with yourself. So he went on campus talking to a kid. They're screaming at him, screaming. Does he scream back? Not once. He sits there. And you know what he's thinking? It's in that book. Maybe you need to take a few hours. Get off your phone. Go for a walk in nature. Go sit and have a coffee. Go and tell your mother you love her. Go do something that is beautiful and healing instead of trying to tear something down that you did not build.
And buy the book. Well, there was one famous moment where Charlie lost his mind. Remember? Against, in a debate with your boy, where Cenk was heckling him from the crowd, and he lost his dang mind. I live like a capitalist every day, Cenk. People thought he was saying a slur. He was just trying to say my uncle's name. So people did effectively get a rise out of him from time to time. It just happened to be that people that got a rise out of him more often than not were not college freshmen, even though they did that as well. That's where this is from? Yes.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Cenk. I live like a capitalist every single day, Cenk.
Yeah.
That's my thought on that.
We're going to talk about the book in a little bit, but I want to pick up on a theme that you've now hit on twice, which is the idea that the black squares that we all have in our pocket, our phones,
yes,
that they are doing something to us collectively, that they are dehumanizing us. Later, we'll
Even Barry was like, yo, we'll get to the book later. Come on, Erika.
talk about the conspiracies that are spreading right now on those platforms about who killed your husband. What do you recommend to people sitting in this room? What are your practices to disconnect, to reconnect by disconnecting?
Well, like my husband, I took all of it off my phone.
All social media off your phone?
No, I don't have it on my phone. I have a team that helps run it.
Did I unironically know Charlie Kirk for longer than Erika Kirk? Yes. I've known Charlie Kirk since 2017. I don't know when he married Erika, but when I first met him, she was not a part of his life, I'm pretty sure.
I really, everyone has an opinion about me. I could care less. You know what I care about? I care about what my daughter says about me and her running up into my arms and loving on me. That's what I care about.
One of the things that has happened over the 3 months since Charlie was murdered is that people have gone through the thousands, maybe tens of thousands of hours of words he produced. He said more in 31 years than most people will say in a lifetime.
Yes.
And I want to read a few that have captured the most attention, especially on the political left, okay?
Yeah.
Some gun deaths were, quote, unfortunately worth it to preserve the Second Amendment, he said.
Ooh.
Acknowledging that he wishes he didn't feel this way, he said, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He said the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. Now, I realize that all of those quotes come from longer conversations that he had on his show.
Correct.
But he did say those things. And Charlie is being memorialized by many people as a person who promoted.
I'm going to be honest. If Barry Weiss had any understanding of how to drive clicks, she would be daggering Erika Kirk the entire time. I just realized if she was just like trying to debate Erika Kirk aggressively, overnight she would become a sensation. Because I know she like agrees with Charlie and doesn't want to present Charlie Kirk as like a bad person. But even then, like the brief mention of some of Charlie Kirk's highlights is enough for her to feel pissed off.
Civil discourse as a person who said, come to the front of the line, let's have a civil conversation. How do you square that with the statements I just read?
I would love for everyone to be able to watch the full and entire clip of what he said. Charlie didn't care what skin color you were. He didn't care what religion you were. He loved excellence. He loved knowing that people, his favorite word was earn. He loved knowing that people worked hard to earn what they got. He worked so hard to build Turning Point USA. The first statement you meant about guns and shooting, I have no idea the context of that, and I have no idea that whole, there's a lot more there than just that one little sentence. My husband is not to be deteriorated to 2 sentences.
Oh. Yeah, that one is, I can't even defend it because, you know, he did go out to gun violence, so directly at a school shooting. And that kind of is something that he, at least on the principle of defending gun freedoms, he kind of went out. He kind of fell on his own sword there. Bro, don't get mad at me for saying this, but I'm about to say something. Now, I know I haven't been the biggest supporter of the Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel narratives. You know this already. As a matter of fact, I've been very critical of these narratives. Okay? But Erika Kirk's acting is so Gal Gadot quoted. Like, so Gal Gadot quoted that I can't help but feel like she's also an agent for Israel. What the f***? This entire thing is Kal-El, no! Over and over again. she's hitting the Kal-El no lines every single time. She's like, it's just wild, man. Maybe it's pure happenstance, pure coincidence that her and Gal Gadot's acting coach are the same Israeli acting coach or something. I don't know what it is, but it's wild. You've somehow managed to make your fake Gal Gadot have more emotion and energy than anything Gal Gadot has ever done on film. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be that bad. Kal-El, no.
This exclusive sit down with Barry Weiss and Erika Kirk. I saw online some jokes of like, oh, wow, this is breaking news. You got this interview with the notoriously reclusive Erika Kirk.
Yeah.
Paige, play that video.
People have gone through the thousands, maybe tens of thousands of hours of words he produced. And I want to read a few that have captured the most attention, especially on the political left, okay? Some gun deaths were, quote, unfortunately worth it. I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He said the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. Charlie is being memorialized as a person who promoted civil discourse. How do you square that with the statements I just read?
His favorite word was earn. He loved knowing that people worked hard to earn what they got. He is a thought leader, and he was brilliant of a man. So that's fine if you want to take words out of his mouth or out of context without the whole thing. But that's the problem.
It would be funny if we watched the context and each of those situations, he said, just kidding.
Wait. What if every single time it was a sandwich? Charlie Kirk was actually building a sandwich as a narrative device where he would say, hey guys, I'm about to say something that I truly don't believe and I think is utterly repulsive. And then he inserts the quote about, I don't know, the Civil Rights Act was repulsive or whatever. And then, end quote, that's right, I really hate people who believe things like this. What if they cut him out of context like that every single time? Yeah. I bet you feel stupid.
At the end of it.
At the end of it, he goes, It is so crazy to say his favorite word was earn. Well, good, because he's in one now.
Oh, Gianmarco.
Wow, that's f***ed up. That's the defense that anyone on the internet uses 24/7? No, because it is real. The reason why people use that as a defense is because it is real, okay? And I'm sure Charlie Kirk has been taken out of context. I'm sure I've taken Charlie Kirk out of context and on certain occasions as well. Not only is taking someone out of context a very viable method and one that people apply all the time to both myself and everybody else, okay? The problem is, or at least like I've given up on trying to get people to actually seek out a deeper meaning from the statements that people are putting out there. But what I'm at the very least hoping for is that even if it's devoid of context or embellished or negatively featured, it's still directionally in line with my worldview, right? What I mean by that is I've given up on people being like, well, you said America deserved 9/11. It's because, yeah, I did, right? I've given up on people trying to understand what I was saying, right? I've given up on people trying to understand that I was talking about blowback, for example, right? But what I despise is when people actually clip something that I'm saying and completely bastardize my perspective. That's what I hate, okay? I hate that. When I talk about, like, one of the most famous incidents that is regularly, often repeated on the internet is Hassan promoted, like, rich college girls getting raped or something, right? This is ridiculous. I've never done such a thing, okay? This was when I was reacting to a pro-rape university by the name of Liberty University. And I said, if these people want to specifically go to a college where there is no protections for sexual assault, it's probably better that they're cordoned off in that college campus rather than be out in the general population. And it's so crazy that they still, to this day, yeah, I said, put all the monsters together, cordon them off. If they are personally choosing to go to a college campus who is billing itself as a college campus where there will be no protections against those who are victims of sexual assault, and you're choosing to personally go there, then yeah, the utilitarian perspective is that it's better that they are there and cordoned off from general population. And people endlessly were like, oh, you want rich, rich women to be raped. It's like, that's insane. I never said that. That is not even in line with my worldview, right? Or another example I can think of with like clipped out of context that's like annoying is the 9 to 5 thing, right? When I said that as someone who worked in a real job, as a regular job, like streaming is soul crushing in a very different way, in a way that I didn't experience in my 9 to 5 job, right? That my social battery is depleted by the time I'm done with the daily broadcast, and I can't have like, it's a socially draining thing. And people, it wasn't Liberty University. I think it was, Patrick Henry College, I think. Yeah. Anyway, not the double down. See, people do this all the time. No, of course it's not a double down. First of all, obviously, I'm in a profoundly privileged position, which I actively talked about back then all the time. But secondly, I'm an active defender of labor rights and labor unions. At no point did it actually call into scrutiny or call into question that it was like the Keemstars of the world and the right-wing shitheads of the world that were like dunking on what they thought I was saying, okay? Dunking on what they thought I was saying when there was like, wait a minute, is Keemstar even pro-labor at all? Is he pro-working class at all? No. It's that style of pretending to it's that style of like pretending that I believe the exact opposite thing that I am saying that is very frustrating. Okay? That's the kind of thing that's like deliberately chopped out of context when they flip the narrative in the exact opposite position. That's what's annoying. Okay? That's what's annoying. Not when someone says, oh, Hassan said America deserved 9/11. Okay? As long as if it's directionally in line with what I was saying and directionally in line with my worldview, even if it's out of context, even if you can like further examine the statement, what I said before, what I said after, that's fine. If you don't want to, do that, if you don't want to do your diligence, that's fine. You're busy. But I despise when people do this shit about things that I don't believe. Right? When they just like make up, they just like make up whatever they think I believe. It's annoying. The reason why I'm bringing this up is not to do a woe is me thing, right? Here's one narrative that's being formed by a clip right now. Hassan blames Israel for a recent anti-Semitic terrorist attack. If the additional context does not actually turn around and change the meaning in its entirety, then you weren't clipped out of context. That's it. So in many circumstances, when like people use that as a weapon or as a deflection, what's frustrating is in Charlie Kirk's instance, in all the instances where they complain that he's being clipped out of context, he's not actually being clipped out of context at all. The context makes it worse. You know? Man moment. Not everything is bait, chat. People disagree just because they weren't right doesn't mean you were. Now that college girl take is wild. I mean, you've said stupid shit. That doesn't mean overall you're someone who should be canceled, but I wish you just take accountability for your weird takes like the college girl's victim blaming. No, you're misunderstanding my point, man. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. But this is precisely the reason why that kind of narrative works. Okay? This is precisely the reason why that kind of narrative works, because they know, like right-wingers know that if they concern troll about a thing that I don't believe, about a thing that like they're claiming, there are always gullible leftists that will lean into it. Okay? There are always people. This is also the other reason why the right is seen as like a comfortable safe haven for a lot of people in the margins, because they never have this tendency. They'll just be like, yeah, off. He said what he said. Suck my dick, right? So there is always like, they can say whatever they want. They can get away with saying whatever the fuck they want. And to the average person that doesn't care about this sort of thing, that doesn't care about politics at all, they see this like relative comfort that comes, the relative freedoms that come with this laissez-faire attitude that the political right has, as opposed to the political left. Do you see what I mean?
He's not. He is a thought leader, and he was brilliant of a man. So that's fine if you want to take words out of his mouth or out of context without the whole thing in perspective. But that's the problem.
Does it bother you that people are picking out those statements and drawing?
Yeah, Charlie Kirk wanted public executions. That's another thing, right?
Drawing an entire picture of who he was.
Again, that's the problem. You're not having a conversation. You're having a 15-second clip on the internet to define your thought of who someone is, instead of taking the time to educate yourself on truly who that person is, what they thought, because why? They challenged you.
People think Alex Jones out of context too. You got to watch the entire video history first before you judge. I mean, let's be real. This does happen. This does happen. There are people who professionally sit in the chats of other people, or professionally are media watchers, media watchdogs, that are actively looking for things that they can clip, like clippable moments. You know, for Nick Fuentes' audience, his clippable moments are moments that have a lot of impact, that can reach out to as broad of an audience as possible. For someone like myself, I have a lot of haters who will sit in this chat, as I'm sure, considering that I talked about the Bondi, Bondi Hanukkah festival being shot at in an anti-Semitic instance of violence, right? Like there were a ton of people that were literally waiting to seize on the opportunity, to see if there's anything that they could potentially weaponize. They're probably still in here. Yeah, Kirkable moments, exactly. So there is a reality around this sort of thing that you can't always understand. It's happening right now. They posted it. See, exactly. They post it, they boost it, and they go crazy over it. And and then there's like a cycle of discourse that revolves around it. I'm sure they posted something, right? The problem is that doesn't mean that everything is out of context. Okay? Especially if it's in line with what you actually are defending, especially if it is in line with what you actually believe.
To think a little different?
Like, you can look at Charlie Kirk's whole body of work and get a pretty good assessment.
Again, my husband...
It's crazy how much of your audience actively hates you. They don't. I don't know where you're coming up with this. This is pure copium from the stalker communities. Like, another example I can give you is this. Okay, actually, an even better example than the ones I used. When people say Hassan is transphobic, or when people say Hassan is racist, anti-black, white supremacist, I have a 12-year body of work that you can literally look at to see if that's real or not. 8 hours a day, pretty much every single day for the past 6 years, and even longer than that, right? You can just straight up look to see whether or not that's true or not. I have tens of thousands of hours of commentary on all of these issues. It's objectively untrue, right? It is objectively untrue. And it's a standard that is impossible for the average person to even to even abide by. What average person can literally have 12 years of endless advocacy and commentary on all of these political issues? None of them. No average person has that, right? But that's clearly something that is not in line with my worldview. But if you were to clip Charlie Kirk saying, like, you know, trans people are scary and they're monsters and they want to destroy Western civilization, you can't say that that's out of context, because we have 10 years of Charlie Kirk saying that exact same thing over and over again. Do you understand? Even if both of those things are clipped, one is out of context and one is not. Do you see what I mean? Or the same thing about people being like, Hassan is anti-Semitic. Again, 12 years of public advocacy combating anti-Semitism. That's part of the reason why it comes across as insane to the average person that has moved beyond like watching a 12-second clip or something that's negatively framed. Okay? That's it.
Was an amazing man. We're human. But I do not once, for 1 second, think he was anything else than exceptional.
Erika, as you know, the last person that Charlie ever spoke to was a Utah Valley student named Hunter Kozak. He was asking Charlie a question that day when he was shot, and he's here tonight, and he wants to ask you a question.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Erika, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your calls for peace and unity. And I'm likewise horrified by the people in my so-called camp who were cheering about Charlie's murder. I believe that they stoke the flames of violence. But even worse is when powerful, influential people on either side of the aisle stoke the flames. When they do it, the flames can become an inferno. And this leads me to Donald Trump, the most—
Oh, hell. Okay. Okay. He started off libbed up, but honestly, oh my God. Oh my God. Brother, look at Erika Kirk's face. Oh my God. What was his name? Hunter Kozak? Bro, you are in danger, dog. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. She looks like she's gonna kill you. It gets worse.
most powerful and influential person on earth who has more responsibility than anyone else to put the flames out. Just last month, President Trump called on 6 Democratic lawmakers to be tried for sedition, which he clarified was punishable by death. He then reposted a simple message.
Oh my God, what is going on? Dude. Oh my God. Oh, she should not have done this, brother. Do you not realize you're on camera? What the? Oh my God. Oh my God. How right-wingers look sitting in their home. Bro, she flinched right here. Look.
Which he clarified with—
Yeah, she's hitting you with the "I'm praying for you" stare. Okay? But look at her flinching right here.
He then reposted a simple message.
Like,
hang them. I think that you've been making strides to bring peace to our country, and that turning point has been asking Democrats to decry the individuals who cheer for violence. I have and will continue to decry them. But any good faith effort to stop political violence must hold both parties to the same standard and expectation. So in that spirit, will you condemn the violent rhetoric of Donald Trump, the most powerful and influential person on earth?
Oh, shit. Oh, bro, run. Run. She's about to say counting or not counting gang violence, and you're going to get shot this time, okay? That is crazy, bro. She is mad dogging his ass.
I appreciate your question.
I don't think she appreciates the question.
You know my heart. Why would I ever say, yes, go murder people? This is so much deeper than just one. I understand your sentiment. I do.
This man said, I wasn't done with my debate. Help me finish it. Yeah, no, you can tell he is a real debate appreciator, okay? That's a real debate appreciator through and through. He was like, I got more in me. I got one more in me. I had one locked in the chamber. You know what I'm saying? I gotta finish the job. Bro went from debating the husband who was slain to debating the widow.
But this is also so much deeper than just...
Bro, next up, he's going to debate the kids. He's like, bring your kids up here. I'm going to ask them how they feel about it. Bring the 3-year-old.
One person. This starts at the home, okay? This starts with family. This starts with a seed.
That wasn't the question, Erika. God damn, she's not very good. That's not the question at all. The question was, do you condemn Donald Trump for saying hang them all in the same week that everyone was talking about political violence is coming because like people are consistently beefing up the violent rhetoric? Because like the standard is so busted in this stupid ass country where like random TikTokers who are like 20 years old are called into a higher level of scrutiny than the so-called leader of the free world, Donald Trump. Donald Trump could just be like, yeah, we got to kill all Somalians. All Somalians. Somalian, it's not Somali, like an alien. That's why I say Somalian. They're parasitic. They must be killed. And then like Republicans are like, no, that's normal. It's not like violent racialized sentiment. No, for no reason. Like no reason for that kind of like racialized animus against a population that is 90% American citizens here of Somali background. It's pretty fucked up that the president saying that. But then they turn around and they're like, God forbid somebody makes a Charlie Kirk joke on TikTok or on Twitter or something, and they're like, what are you doing? This is illegal. You need to lose your job. It's crazy. And her response to this is also incredibly silly. Oh, this is not about the president. It's about the family. It starts at home. Yeah, okay. I guess the president has no responsibility for the violent rhetoric that goes on. The violent rhetoric that he engages in. No responsibility. Charlie Kirk got killed because words are violence, and the left actually celebrating Charlie Kirk's death is the most violent thing you can do. But the president that's in command of the military and now even the domestic police force saying we have to murder the left, that's not violent rhetoric, actually.
That grows and grows. You can choose to have evil in your heart, or you can choose to have light. What you consume and what you absorb from the outside world will manifest itself. No, I will never agree with political violence. My husband is a victim of it. I'm a victim of it.
Okay, so you disagree with Donald Trump. Can you say those words, please? If you disagree with politically violent rhetoric and violently charged rhetoric coming from the president, would you condemn it?
But what I'm trying to say here is that we can blame everyone else. We have to look in the mirror when you become a father, when you become a mother. How are you raising your kids?
Yeah, I'm doing my part, okay? As a Twitch streamer, I'm responsible for the violent rhetoric in the country, but the president, he's blameless. The president in charge of all commerce, the military, the president that's even using the military as a domestic tool now, at odds with the Constitution, the president that set up concentration camps for random people that have been living here for a decade plus. That guy not responsible for anything, and certainly not even responsible for the violent rhetoric that he actually routinely engages in.
Are you taking responsibility? Or
isn't that what you're doing, by the way? You're literally taking away the responsibility from the president and bringing it back to like other people, put a mirror up to your face type shit.
are you giving them a device and saying, go down that rabbit hole? I'm trying to go to Pilates class. You can just sit in the corner and look at your iPad or look at your phone and go down that rabbit hole and see what you can learn from that instead of being a parent.
What?
So my call to action from that is parents, step up. Do you want your kid to be a thought leader or an assassin? That's where we're at.
Do you think our political leaders have a responsibility to turn the temperature down?
Bro, that had nothing to do with the question. What the So is she saying Donald Trump's mom has to step up? Is that what it is? Too late, I guess. She's dead. But if she was alive, she needed to step up to make sure that Donald Trump was not engaging in violent rhetoric. Failed the QuickTime event.
Right now. Well, I think everyone has a responsibility to do that. And I'm doing
thought leader daughter or gay homo assassin son. Which way, Western man and woman?
doing my part. I'm not in control of other people.
Okay. Ahead, a father whose daughter was murdered in cold blood because of who she was. He's here. Also, political violence and the conspiracy theories surrounding Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yeah, get to the good shit, okay? Get to the Candace Owens line.
Never before has conservatism, the ideas of freedom, liberty, American exceptionalism, been so popular on these college campuses.
Welcome back to our CBS News Town Hall with Erika Kirk. Bob Milgram is the father of Sarah Milgram. Sarah was fatally shot last May outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., alongside Yaron Lashinsky, her boyfriend. Sarah was just 26 years old when she was killed. Bob, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Barry. Hello, Erika.
Hi, sir.
Just as our family could not anticipate the pain we've been going through following the murder of our daughter, Sarah, there is no way I can understand the pain that you and your children are going through as a result of Charlie's tragic death. Our daughter was killed because of anti-Semitism, hate against Jews, and hate against the Jewish homeland, Israel. We know about the growth of anti-Semitism on the left, including here in New York City, where the mayor-elect still will not condemn the phrase, globalize the intifada. What I want you to address is growing anti-Semitism on the right, including Holocaust denial, anti-Zionism, and the normalizing of centuries-old conspiracy theories about Jews. Will you here condemn the individuals spreading that hate and speak out clearly enough against anti-Semitism so we can prevent another tragedy?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'm so sorry. You and I are a part of a very small club. Painful. But you're in good company, and I will pray for you. It sucks, doesn't it?
Wait.
Hate is hate. It's evil. Charlie and I have always been very clear on our stance. Israel, Jewish people. It's awful.
Oh, is this the, oh my God, they're doing a globalize the Intifada bar here? Oh my God. Oh, dude, this is gonna people's brains up so hard. Hold on.
Sarah was fatally shot last May outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., alongside Yaron Lashinsky, her boyfriend. Sarah was just 26 years old when she was killed. Bob, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Barry. Hello, Erika.
Hi, sir.
Just as our family could not anticipate the pain we've been going through following the murder of our daughter, Sarah, there is no way I can understand the pain that you and your children are going through as a result of Charlie's tragic death. Our daughter was killed because of anti-Semitism, hate against Jews, and hate against the Jewish homeland, Israel. We know about the growth of anti-Semitism on the left, including here in New York City, where the mayor-elect still will not condemn the phrase, globalize the Intifada.
Yo, if this is such a scary phrase, which it's not, by the way, it's just only scary because it's Arabic, okay? No one would be complaining if they were saying globalize the uprising, okay? Just remember that always. But also, if it was globalize the uprising, they wouldn't be consistently saying it wrong. I can't stand when people are like, oh, this phrase is so scary, it's so damaging, it means murder all the Jews, and they don't even say it right. Every time, bro, every time. I cannot believe it. Oh, they globalize the enchiladas. Globalize the infratada. Globalize the empanada. Let's be honest, they probably will be complaining about uprising too. Yeah, but it wouldn't hit the same. It just wouldn't hit the same. It would be even sillier. Yeah, veganize the empanadas. Speaking of empanada, are you gonna respond to his recent video on you and Mike? No. Of course not. I am a sheepdog, a shepherd for Zionism and the Democratic Party. I am a America loyal servant of the American Empire, America defender.
What I want you to address is growing anti-Semitism on the
SS on Pike KK
right, including Holocaust denial, anti-Zionism, and the normalizing of centuries-old conspiracy theories about Jews. Will you here condemn the individuals spreading that hate and speak out clearly enough against anti-Semitism so we can prevent another tragedy?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'm so sorry. You and I are a part of a very small club.
What?
Painful.
So wait, when it's the president saying the left must be assassinated, we got to go back to the drawing board and hold the parents responsible, you know? But when it's violent rhetoric coming from the left again, and maybe even the right, all of a sudden there is a words or violence narrative that you can arrive at. Interesting. I just think that's strange is all, you know? Kind of feels like this is a little bit one-sided. Why won't you tell him that, you know, it's up to the parents? It starts at home. Why don't you tell him it starts at home? I'm confused because that's what you said when you were asked whether you would condemn the president saying that we should hang them all. Well, I don't understand why you're not telling the father whose daughter was killed that it just starts, you know, it just starts with the parents. It starts with the home.
But you're in good company, and I will pray for you. It sucks, doesn't it? Hate is hate. It's evil.
Charlie and I have always been very clear on our
hate is evil. You are Charlie Kirk's widow. Clearly, not all hate is equal for you. Because Charlie, for the most part, demonstrated a lot of hate by your definition, something evil, for pretty much every single subgroup, subcategory in this country, with the exception of, like, I guess, white Christian men, and maybe at times like defenders of Israel. I wouldn't even say that he wouldn't like entertain anti-Semitic rhetoric, because he did do that every now and then as well. Definitely a lot less than he did all of the other kinds of bigotries that he openly demonstrated and defended. My husband was assassinated. Totally sucks.
our stance. Israel, Jewish people. It's awful. Awful. Anti-Semitism is what healing factor comes out of hating Jewish people? What healing factor comes out of hating Christians? What healing factor comes out? Hate Muslims in general. Nothing. Nothing. Charlie always would say very clearly, Jew hate was brain rot. He would always say it. We've been to Israel twice together. And to be able to walk in the place where our Lord walked and see the Bible come to life in Technicolor, how could you hate that place? How could you hate?
Yo, wait, first of all, no mentions of Muslims, of course, but also, why did you bring up Israel now all of a sudden? You know, he was talking about growing anti-Semitism on the West. Who brought Israel into the equation? What the does that have to do with, anything? I mean, he did, but like her own personal experiences with Israel is not pertinent to the conversation. I guess he mentioned Israel. Okay, fair.
In the place where our life in Technicolor. How could you hate that place? How could you hate the Jewish people?
Yeah, what Israel is doing, is very biblical. Biblical amounts of pain being brought about. Ironically enough, direct descendants, you know, in the same areas that are mentioned in the same areas that are mentioned in the Bible. Israel is bringing about biblical style plagues and death and destruction. This kind of makes Candace look better. I'm so confused why they did this. The reason why they're doing this is because they think they can they can address a lot of the talking points by bringing Charlie Kirk's widow directly. Like having Charlie Kirk's widow directly address these talking points that are matriculating, right? All over the internet. The problem is she actually is not a very good advocate. She's just not very good at this at all. And therefore, this is abject failure that will invite even further scrutiny. Like her constantly being like, Charlie and I loved Israel. Charlie and I loved Israel. We love Israel. Israel is Bible land. We love Israel. I don't know how people talk shit about Israel. It's the greatest place on the planet. I don't think it's gonna play well for any conservative that's tuning in that already is like, questioning America's foreign policy with respect to Israel. Also, right after she says, sucks, doesn't it? Anyone else just here to read the comments? No one ever said she was on Egyptian planes. 24K views and 496 likes, huh? We the people are not buying this bullshit. Hold the phone. When did Charlie Kirk start liking CBS and mainstream news? This will be the only time anyone ever tunes in to listen to a Barry Weiss interview, Lamau. It took me months. It has only passed 3 months. I didn't think I would ever see a bigger car crash interview than Prince Andrew's. That's wild because nobody said she was on a plane. Oh my goodness, you guys weren't lying about her reading a script and trying to act. Candace says she has proof planes from a foreign country have been following you for months. Erika, I've never been on those planes. She knew these questions beforehand and still never straight up answers any of the questions. I don't think America is more divided than ever. We all seem to be on the same page regarding these terrible psyops. Oh! Erika gives me Hunger Games vibes. There are two things I've taken from this interview. Oh my God, Candace is so popping, dude. I'm sorry. The Egyptian plane shit, clearly a major priority for a lot of the wine moms, okay? God damn. She got so much motion, dude.
Why? Because you need to fulfill a conspiracy theory. I'm wrapped in, people say I'm a part of conspiracy theories all the time. It's sick, and it needs to stop. We are human. No one is perfect. No Christian is perfect.
Nobody's perfect. And neither is Israel. Except Israel is perfect. Don't question it. Okay. Ow. Ow, ow, ow.
No Jew is perfect. No Muslim is perfect. We are broken, sinful humans in need of a Lord and Savior. And that's why it is so important to give your life to the Lord. Because once you do that and you fully surrender.
Isn't he Jewish? The son, or the dude who was working for the Israeli embassy wasn't Jewish, but he's Jewish and his daughter is Jewish. She's like, hey, you need to succumb to the Lord right now.
To the Lord, you have no room in your heart for hate. And so, sir, I am so sorry what happened to your daughter. I pray that does not happen, and I pray that that is something that we can somehow extinguish in this world. But we are living in enemy-occupied territory, and every single day we need to guard ourselves, guard our minds, guard our heart, and the best way to do that is reading God's word.
Wait, what do you mean? We're living in enemy-occupied territory. Hold on now. What does she mean by this? Also, she got a booger. God damn, this is so devastating.
And you cannot separate the Old Testament from the New Testament. You cannot. You cannot.
Bob, do you want to ask a follow-up?
Is there anything specific that Turning Point can do to combat anti-Semitism?
Yeah, so we're all of
Okay.
Our college campus and high school campuses, we have these conversations. And our students understand exactly my heart and Charlie's heart and the sentiment of everything I just said. We have Shabbat dinner happening at AmFest. We have individuals in our chapters who are Jewish. We have people that are going to be having booths. We have an exhibit hall at AmFest that are Jewish, that have Jewish organizations. The only way to combat evil, just like Charlie did, is with dialogue and not being afraid to do it. If you have these things that are being said, you need to counter it with the truth. And if you don't, there's a void and a vacuum. And so even though they're a small number, they get louder and louder. So we need to do our best, which we're doing our part. We're going to continue to do our part to make sure that the truth is always heard. We'll amplify it even more. And we're going to do the best we can, but we need the whole community. We need everyone in on that.
Bob, thank you so much. I want to talk about discernment.
Yes.
Okay, being able to separate truth from lies, reality from unreality. A 22-year-old man named Tyler Robinson has been arrested and charged with the murder of your husband. And yet there are a huge number of conspiracy theories, you might call them brain rot, that are spreading right now online about the actual story behind the reality. One, people say that Tyler Robinson was actually a MAGA Republican. Or two, some people say you were actually a Mossad agent sitting in front of me, and you were Charlie's handler, and Israel killed Charlie.
Right.
Other people say that a number of men in the crowd were wearing maroon T-shirts, And this signifies that his killing was an elite airborne operation, whatever that means. They say that the rings on your fingers, which are
my kids'
your kids' initials,
my wedding band, the Medal of Freedom, my engagement ring.
But apparently they symbolize some kind of secret plot. There's also a new theory that Egyptian.
Damn, bro. I mean, you guys know I like wearing rings, but that's too many rings, girl. That's too many goddamn rings. I've never bought the Erika Mossad arguments, but having a likely Mossad asset like Barry ask you this question makes me wonder. Also, this entire interview is a disaster, so scripted and fake. TPUSA is in trouble. Just the truth. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's true. Having Barry Weiss be the person to ask these questions when like her news outlet is entirely dedicated to Hasbara, the Free Press, so much so that they're like their important work in denying the famine that was taking place in Gaza was highlighted by Benjamin Netanyahu when she's like, oh, you know, the people are saying you're a Mossad operative. What do you say to that? Well, okay, good luck getting that message across the regular ass people when you're the one saying that shit.
Aircraft have been tracking you. What is going on? Why are there so many conspiracies spreading about what seems to be a pretty open and shut case?
This is the first time that we have seen evil on display where we have social media at our fingertips. Something so evil that happened, people are wanting answers immediately. They are wanting to figure out how to wrap their mind around this. Egyptian planes.
Egyptian planes. Do you believe that Tyler Robinson murdered your husband?
Yes, I do.
Why do you think it is?
Dude, why does she look like that, bro? I don't know. Am I being hateful because she's like blue-eyed or something? Is that like a real thing? Like she's just got negative aura. Objectively evil aura. You're taking the bait from Barry Weiss. Is anyone else thinking that she's killing it? Nah, she's destroying, dude. Yeah, destroying something. Hey guys, I can't be alone in this, but I do feel like Erika Kirk really won me over in this.
Why do you think it is so hard for so many people to believe that reality?
Because it's too simple. Again, everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's not. I've seen the autopsy report. I've seen our case pulled together. I've been in constant contact with our lawyers, the prosecuting team. I've seen it all. And let me tell you this. Why in the world, why should we, prior to the trial, lay all of our hands and cards on the table for the defense team to see, to somehow then, I don't even know what they would do with it. But what I will say, and I want to get on the...
Here's the problem, okay? A lot of people think the government had a hand in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, whether it be Israel or even the American government somehow. And when she takes a stance that is like in line with the prosecutorial team, I kind of understand why she would do that, because she wants, like, if she believes Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, then she wants Tyler Robinson to go to jail. She wants justice to be served. But for the average person, it kind of feels like she's not siding with her husband, okay? It feels like she's not siding with her slain husband and instead taking on the official government narrative. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people think like she doesn't give a shit about Charlie Kirk. The average person, yeah, I think a lot of normies, I think a lot more normies than you would suspect, legitimately think that there was something confusing about this assassination. Like, I think I'm alone and in the minority with my assessment, which is I don't think Israel did this. And that is to say, do I believe that Israel is incapable of doing such a thing? Of course not. That's not even what I'm saying. I just haven't seen enough evidence that Israel certainly did this, right? Like, I haven't seen enough evidence at all. And I feel like I'm in the fucking minority with that position. I'll have to ask around, but I think you might be in too deep. I mean, go read the Go read the profile I did for Variety. Someone learned that lesson the wrong way. Tomorrow, you're going to come back into the chat. I'm calling you right now and be like, holy shit. I asked 12 of my friends and 11 of them think Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel. I was so wrong. I had no clue. Because it's not like liberals already are automatically going to be against whatever the government is saying and doing because of the Trump administration, and they invite a lot of scrutiny and skepticism, right? Because it's Kash Patel that's like delivering the outcomes of this investigation, and he is a deeply untrustworthy person who looks ridiculous. But then also on top of that, like anytime he comes out, anytime this administration comes out, they are basically signaling that they're incompetent, right? So there's a lot of people who already don't trust the government for that reason. But now something unique is taking place, and that is that right-wingers also are no longer trusting the government. Right-wingers are supposed to trust Kash Patel. The reason why Kash Patel is in that place, in charge of the FBI, is so that the right-wingers eat up whatever the he says, because he's supposed to be like a trustworthy conspiratorial figure. That's the reason why he was hired as the FBI director. And nobody trusts him. The conspiratorial right do not trust him at all now. He is so not trustworthy that they trust Trump less as a consequence.
Egyptian plane thing. We'll take a flight on that for a second. What I will say is what I'm worried about, and I'm fascinated, just from a legal standpoint, to see how the United Healthcare trial pans out. And I say that because this is the first time where we are seeing the implications.
You're talking about Luigi Mangione.
Correct. I prefer never to say any of their names. They do not even deserve the ounce of oxygen and breath out of my body. But what I mean is it's fascinating to see how social media will impact that court case, just how it might impact mine.
Are you nervous he's not going to get a fair trial?
I'm confused. Are you saying you do think it was Tyler Robinson who killed him? I mean, allegedly. I don't know. No one killed him. Yeah. I believe that just kind of happened on its own. That's what I believe. I do think it's strange that we haven't heard enough of the alleged shooter's profile and his background. I find that strange. I'll tell you that much. I find that very strange. Because like if the goal here was to justify a tremendous amount of repression in the hands of the state against political enemies of the state, political dissidents and stuff, then I suspect a competent administration would spend a good deal of time trying to highlight this person's radical leftist background, transgender ideology, and the like. And yet, for some reason, that's not really happening. It does call into question, like, why they went with that narrative early on and they just kind of dropped it.
I'm nervous that there could be, they'll say we can't find a fair jury. Like they're going to taint the jury pool. And in that case.
That's how widespread you think these conspiracies have gone.
Yes.
Oh my God. It's just like with Tyler Robinson, it's the opposite. It's the administration that's like actively tainting the jury pool and saying that he's guilty without his day in court. I feel like there's not really a comparison here between the Tyler Robinson case and the Luigi Mangione case. The Tyler Robinson case is like Candace Owens talking about it. Yeah, it is pretty wild that her admission basically is we can't find 12 people in the state of Utah who don't think Israel did it. That's wild. Like not even like that. I mean, that's not just Candace Owens. That's, shouts out to Israel, I guess. They did that. Good job.
That's how mainstream they become. Okay.
Egyptian planes.
You want to talk about Egyptian planes?
Okay. I was pregnant for 90% of those trips. Mind you, I've never, all those places they said I've traveled, I've never been. I mean, I've been, but I'm not within those dates that they've.
But you even said you need to address.
No, but this is, yeah, but I do on that one, only because Only because, from a humor standpoint, I intentionally, when I was pregnant, hid. Not because I was embarrassed, not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private, but it's because it was a moment very sacred. I was growing a human inside of me, my baby. The world that Charlie and I live in is very toxic at times.
Yeah.
And when you are growing a beautiful child in you, I don't want to be around it. I want to enjoy eating my In-N-Out burger and my hot fudge sundae. That's what I want to do. I'm pregnant and I have 9 months to own it. You really think I'm going to be on an Egyptian plane while I am wanting to be with my In-N-Out burger and my chocolate milkshake? No, I'm not. So if you want to go through my flight log, go right ahead. It's very boring. You say I was here on this date. I have a photo in my phone to prove that I actually was in the hospital because I was having contractions. So game on.
Okay, I can't believe I'm defending Candace Owens here, except, as you guys know, I am a clandestine operator as well, myself. So I guess you can believe it. But she didn't say that Erika Kirk was on the Egyptian planes. She said that it was suspicious that the Egyptian planes, flight logs show that there were Egyptian planes that were following Charlie Kirk's plane. She didn't even say that the Egyptian planes were following Erika Kirk. She was saying that there were planes that were Egyptian that were following Charlie Kirk around. I believe women. I don't know what to do here. I agree. It's tough. You really think I'm going to be on an Egyptian plane when I'm wanting to be with my In-N-Out burger and chocolate milkshake? Erika Kirk completely dodging the question by confronting a claim we never made. Literally, no one accused Erika or Charlie of flying on Egyptian planes. And no, you were not pregnant for the last 4 years. Oh my God. What is this? Economic Times? Candace Owens never said Erika Kirk was on the Egyptian planes. That's false. The planes traveled to the same location as Erika. Not that Erika was on them. Nothing has been debunked from the statement on shows. Strawman argument. The correct statement I was looking for, I actually had no idea there were Egyptian planes that were there that day, and I had no idea why they seemed to have crossed into so many cities that Charlie or myself. Why don't you follow Candace? She blocked me. See? Although I'm a clandestine operator, Candace Owens blocked me many, many years ago. Like many, many years ago. Unfortunately, I'm not able to follow her. She has to hide the obvious connection between you two? Yeah. Good cover? Yeah. Would you follow her if you could? Yes. Where was I? I'm a clandestine operator. Anyway, in so many cities that Charlie or myself or other TPUSA faith people were speaking in, it could very well be just a coincidence, but I obviously sent that right over to the FBI just in case it's not. We're leaving no stone unturned. Have her on fear end? Okay, dude. Wow, this is quite unexpected. Erika Kirk says she and Candace Owens are meeting. Turning Point USA was set to host a stream tomorrow to address Candace's various allegations and conspiracy theories. Candace Owens and I are meeting for, oh my God, they're going to kill Candace Owens. Oh my God. Oh my God. The girlies are fighting. No cameras? That's crazy. Wait, why did she block you? Brother, I don't think you guys understand. Until this last, Candace Owens is a pop culture analyst ass bullshit that she was doing that made her explode in popularity, even amongst wine moms and shit. Candace Owens was, and still is, one of the most aggressive white supremacist voices in American political discourse. Okay? And I stand by that statement and will continue to do so till the day I die, unless she genuinely changes her ideology. Okay? There's a reason why we jokingly call her Candace Owens. She believes basically the opposite of everything that I believe. You know, except for some things. But even then, I think her opinion on Israel. But did you say something about her? I've said a million things about her. Yes, I've shit on Candace Owens for years. Probably the most around the George Floyd commentary, where she was one of the. I have always maintained the position that she, the role that she served was for white supremacists to feel more comfortable with their racist ass attitudes because she's a black woman saying the exact same things that they say. Okay? They're trying to bait you, just move on. I don't think this person is trying to bait me. I mean, so do a lot of people. So does she just block every person calling her out? I don't know. But I've been blocked for a long time, so I don't know. Yeah. Her role, I mean, yeah, I've said stuff.
Nationalism is not a problem that is harming Black America. That it is quite ironic that I'm the only Black American that's sitting here, and yet the people that called this hearing haven't asked me a single question about my experience. I think that probably points to what I say the larger issue is that Democrats come up with the problems, they come up with the solutions, and Black Americans are basically used as props for them to get out their narrative and to ultimately control our vote using fear tactics. I also found it quite hilarious that when asked for actual numbers, nobody here could actually provide them because it's not actually a problem in America or a major problem or a threat that's facing Black America.
She's right. White supremacy is not a problem that's a major problem facing Black Americans. I know a chatter said that because that's far too funny for you. No, I used to make jokes like that all the time. I don't anymore because everybody says I'm racist whenever I make a joke about even the most like white supremacists, even if it's about like Candace Owens, people will literally be like, you're racist. There are a lot of people in the content sphere who get so mad and say I'm actually insanely racist for what I've said about Nicki Minaj and what I've said about Candace Owens. To be fair, there are ways in which you can actually say something about like a Black conservative person that could be racist, right? Like, so there's not, I'm not discounting that at all. They're calling him the Hasanabi of the NFL. Ain't no way. Okay, chill. People still get mad when you call her KKK Clandis. Yeah, people get mad at that. People still get mad at me for saying her name is Candace Owens.
This is, again, just election rhetoric. This is, again, just an attempt to assault an administration that is doing all that they can to help.
You hyperfixate on Black people and it gets weird at times. You are more generous with white men who inspire the role Candace plays. No, as a matter of fact, I do the exact opposite of that. I routinely shit on liberals who do that, like the Black community has a homophobia problem or shit like that. I regularly rail against that kind of commentary. But it doesn't matter. Even though I do the exact opposite thing that you're saying that I do, like I said, this is the reason why I don't, make any jokes of any sort about Candace Owens beyond saying that she's Candace Owens any longer.
Black America in every single regard, whether it's criminal justice reform, whether it's talking about real issues like school choice, which should be implemented to conquer some of these illiteracy rates that is actually harming the Black community. And I think it's unfortunate that we have this many hearings on something that is so small in America.
That's completely wrong. People just hyper focus on that shit and engage a specific audience to farm. Yeah. Yeah, no. Like, I assume there's like probably a liberal contingency that's mad at me for calling into question Jasmine Crockett and saying that her takes on Israel are really bad, stuff like that. And that's like instantly. It's misogynoir allegations and the notion that like I'm hyperfixating on Black people doing the same thing that like white supremacists do. I put you on a low priority list of anti-Black racists, but I believe we're all indoctrinated to disproportionately surveil Black bodies in general. Okay. Thank you for putting me on a low priority of anti-Black racism. Guys, calm down, okay? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Please stop. At least this person is not saying they're warning others about my anti-Black racism like that one chatter was. Okay?
and we aren't having real hearings. I actually don't think the Democrats have completed a single day of real work since Donald J. Trump went into office. This has just been about attacking his administration day in and day out with things that do not matter. White supremacy and white nationalism is not a problem that is harming Black America. Let's start talking about putting fathers back in the home. Let's start talking about God and
Thomas Sowell is obviously like the number one purveyor of this kind of sentiment. Like he is perhaps the most like responsible figure for modern white supremacist Black conservative commentary, and she's just carrying on that torch and did so for many, many years. And there is definitely a market for this kind of thing. There is definitely a market for this kind of thing because racist people love having a token. Racist people, white supremacist people love hearing white supremacist commentary coming from a Black voice. They love it. They're like, oh, yeah, see? Well, Candace is saying it too. You can't call me racist. You know? Clarence Thomas is actually someone who was one-shotted by Thomas Sowell, which is so embarrassing. But yeah.
religion and shrinking government, because government has destroyed Black American homes, and every single one of you know that. And I think many people should feel ashamed for what we have done and what Congress has turned into. It's days of our lives in here, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah. The Price of Self-Respect by Pillboy is an...
How could you possibly...
The Art of Bootlicking, Claws, The Jester in the Night, The Infinite Black Money Glitch, Tokens Get Spent. Is it really true, though? I feel like it makes sense, but I see libs saying that I have a Black friend thing more than conservatives saying Candace excuses my racism. No, they adopt the same liberal framework of, like, they adopt standpoint theory where they're like, oh, this Black person is saying the things that I always suspected about Black people, and she's a Black woman. So, of course, she knows from her own personal experience. That's very powerful, comforting. That's a very powerful tool for comforting races. Okay? That's what it is. Like, doesn't it confuse you at all that there is not a single Black Republican that is from a district that has a higher proportion of Black people than the average? It's white people that vote for Black Republicans. And that's precisely the reason why Black Republicans don't actually advance any sort of Black cause at all. They come from white districts. They advance white causes. They advance white supremacist attitudes. There's also a reason why when Black Republicans they go up and talk at CPAC and on numerous other conservative conferences, the overwhelming majority of their commentary revolves around how, because they're Black, they understand racism, and Donald Trump certainly ain't it. That's what they say over and over again. They rarely ever talk about other shit, because that's ultimately the goal. That's what they want. That's what the Republicans and the conservative movement, that's what white supremacists want out of Black people. Okay? Like, for all conversations around liberals using and abusing the Black vote, at least it's still Black people voting for Black liberal politicians, and many of which still do care about Black issues. They care about their Black constituents, as opposed to Republicans who very clearly do not. Anyway, we took a brief sidestep here about Candace Owens and her background and why I criticize her, but...
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
Okay. The next question comes from a person who may be familiar to you, Erika, because Charlie interviewed him for his show last August. Rob Henderson, to you.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Erika. During that discussion with Charlie, neither of us knew that was going to be the last long-form interview he would ever conduct, because his life was cut short by the actions of a very disturbed young man. As someone who admired Charlie's ability to offer young people a productive and optimistic path, I wanted to ask, how should the conservative movement think about cultivating leaders and role models for young men, and how can it continue offering them?
Ooh, she reached a certain level of prominence. Now they're calling into question her drip. Wealthy people think the rest of us are stupid. Ooh. Wealthy people hold such little respect for the public. They believe they can outright purchase common sense via influence campaigns. We don't believe Tyler Robinson acted alone and killed Charlie Kirk. Can you respectfully shut up and accept that you can't afford to change that? Of course, this is a Daily Wire fan, Britta, no soup for Knowles. I mean, her username is literally dedicated to Michael Knowles. Wealthy people think the rest of us are stupid. She's getting the Hasanabi. She's getting the Hasanabi pocket watch. Oh shit. Oh shit. Isn't the hat you're wearing $20,000? Yeah, it's $1 million. It's free, brother. I got it on stream. A chatter gave it to me when they stream sniped me. But yeah, I do appreciate the hello. I do appreciate the Hasanabi treatment that when other people get it. She's not a socialist or a communist, though. It don't matter. She dared criticize the wealthy in any way, shape, or form. That's it. There is something in the mind of the average American that I like to call peasant brain. Okay? Serf mindset, peasant mindset. Even if you're doing it cynically, even if you're talking about like the wealthy in a cynical way, as like in a grifter kind of way, you're so conceited. Yeah. Thank you. I agree. But even if you say like, oh, the wealthy are f***ing you over, people will immediately start pocket watching you. It's just like crabs in a bucket. It's just crabs in a bucket. They go, wait, hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean the wealthy are stealing from me? Well, you're wealthy. How about that? Yeah, the Eilish effect. The Billie Eilish effect.
Them a constructive alternative to the toxic currents Charlie so astutely criticized?
It's a great question. First of all, your interview was amazing. It's one of my favorite ones to look back on. Charlie connected with you very well. And I can always tell when he does on his show. I've always watched his show. And I could always tell.
Hassan stealing my free Prime subs? Exactly. I'm stealing it from that chatter. I'm stealing it from all of you. Give me your free Primes, your Twitch Primes. Give it to me. Yum. I demand it. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. Your subscriptions are the only way that you can support the show, and it helps you maintain my editorial independence. PBS is for you, by you.
Because his question.
Stop Kyson adding. That's crazy. I think I do a call to action after someone primes me up in the chat, like what, twice or three times max a stream. I don't run any ads whatsoever. And I always tell you, you get emotes and stuff and the opportunity to rewind if you subscribe, but there's no like paywalls or anything like that. I'm pretty open about this stuff. If you want to support, you can. If you want to support, you can subscribe. But if you don't, then that's also fine. Everything is free. And there's not even ad breaks anymore. What is this? You stop streaming if people don't? Yeah. If people don't subscribe, I'll stop streaming. No. Why was that tier 2 27-month subscriber you argued with yesterday perma-banned? While you were offline, no wonder your sub count on Twitch is lower. When a lot of people banned in your chat were subscribers, I watch other streamers too, and they almost never permaban their subs, especially not long-term subscribers. No hate, just asking. I don't know why the mod team made that decision, if they actually made that decision at all. But what I can tell you is this. I will ban you, even if you're a long-term community subscriber, if you say some fuck shit, if you're being heinous in your commentary, if you're being hateful, okay? Also, the very fact that you, quote unquote, know that this person was banned implies that it's probably you, all right? Like, how else could you have come to this conclusion? Awfully suspicious. I didn't even know that that person was banned. What's their username? I forgot. But yes, while other streamers might not do that, I treat you like a human being, and I treat this like a community. And if there are long-term members in this, I checked his logs after you ended your stream and noticed. Wait, what? How can you notice that off their logs? What was the name of the 27-month subscriber? Subscriptions are completely optional. I do appreciate it when you do subscribe. Huge IQ, small PP. Let's see who banned him. Lake McGroove. Lake McGroove with the post-stream ban. Clapped his ass. I wonder why he did that. Lake, why did you ban him? For being a Bardella supporter? Do your mods ban people when offline often? I don't know. The 95% comment? What was it? 95% of black slaves were sold by black Africans? Okay, but, you know, I understand that. But, you know, if I had a conversation with him and I didn't ban him, you shouldn't ban him either. Your mods ban your subs and you unban the racist shitheads in the chat. It's pretty insane, to be honest. No, we end up banning them after the fact. Listen, guys. Listen. We don't. I mean, clearly the reason why Lake banned this person is because he says some racist shit. Okay? This was racist. Every ring you have is a banned sub. You know what? I'll do a ban appeal soon. How about that?
And his engagement would shift. And he always loved that conversation with you. As the CEO of Turning Point USA, it is my responsibility to make sure that our youth is in good hands. Our chapter leaders are amazing. And there's some leaders within those groups you guys have not even seen or heard about yet, but you will one day, and you'll be blown away because they are amazing kids. We had 2 of them at our gala event this weekend, and they spoke in front of our donors. It was the first time I ever met them. Phenomenal kids. Not only are they smart, they have a heart. Not only do they have a heart, they can understand and see the Gen Z landscape in a way that we can't. And from a peer-to-peer communication level, they're phenomenal. So I personally, having a front row seat to the rising generation, the courageous generation, they're amazing. Yes, there are bad apples. Millennials, we got them too. So do the baby boomers. So does Gen X.
Bro, she is so Homelander coded. She has such a unmistakable negative riz, negative aura around her. It's just odd when she's whenever she's just like trying to talk about some shit. I feel like she just dances around the issue and the vibes are so it's not even helping her. Like, even this is supposed to be a positive interaction, and even then it's like kind of odd. The negative interactions are even worse. Lady, you are laying right behind me. I'm gonna accidentally step on you. Get out of there. No. Oh God, you're so cute. I can't even do nothing. Ay. Okay, I just can't move.
No one's escaping the bad apples. It's just the batch. But It is our responsibility, my responsibility, our team's responsibility to make sure that our chapters are cultivating those leaders. So when they leave high school and they decide not to go to college, they're in the workforce being incredible people and incredible leaders. They might not be influencers. Not everyone's meant to. Everyone plays a very specific role. But they'll be someone in something very important, and they'll plant seeds. And that's all you have to do, is plant the seed. And then let truth grow from there. But thank you again for the time that you spent with my husband on that final conversation. It meant a lot to him. It means a lot to me to be able to have that to show my babies one day.
Thanks, Rob. Coming up, should women focus on their careers or building their families? We'll ask Erika Kirk what she believes as a mom and now as a CEO. Welcome back. Erika, Charlie's last book, it wasn't about politics. It wasn't about policy. It was
here we go.
About the Jewish Sabbath, which...
That's crazy. I can't be alone in thinking that's crazy. Are they trying to make people go insane? The very fact that she's running around being like, buy the book is weird enough as it is, even if the book wasn't about the Jewish Sabbath and how much Charlie Kirk actually loved practicing Judaism as a person who tailored his entire career around being a Christian guy. Okay? It's nuts. Also, what book did Charlie Kirk actually write? Let's be real. Come on. Actually didn't go to college, okay? Not to say that you can't write a book if you didn't go to college, but I feel like if you're too busy running around the entire country, you're probably not going to have a lot of time. You probably have some ghostwriters for all of the books that you may or may not have written. But like, you have a problem with tradition. I feel like it's going to brick people. Otto Penn finished it. I mean, I guess he did actually do the Shabbat Shalom stuff. So I guess like that's not even a lie. If anything, I feel like this is going to make people hate Charlie Kirk even.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Turn off your phone. Enjoy your family. God bless America. See you guys Sunday night in Albuquerque.
Wait, what is this? In Judaism, keeping the Sabbath as a Gentile is a capital crime. Real rabbit hole this opens up Lamau. No. Wait, really? Charlie Kirk on observing the Sabbath. Well, here is Max Nordau, who isn't even Jewish, by the way. Isn't that a doozy? A major ultra Zionist on the timeline who says he's Jewish, but he actually isn't. I think he's like a British wasp LARPing as though he's Jewish. Wait, Yehuda, is that why Israel killed Charlie Kirk? Because he did a capital crime. I'm sorry. I don't believe that there is enough evidence that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, okay? I need to be sincere. That's what my 12-year-old brother said. Your 12-year-old brother is connecting the dots. Yes, he says in his Twitter bio that he's Jewish, but he's not.
My next book on the Sabbath, it's called Stop in the Name of God, because Shabbat means stop or ceasing. So I'm not here to sell you a book. It's not even for sale yet. It's just something to think about. And it's honestly how the Sabbath saved my life and helped preserve my family and help preserve my career. I grew up in a church environment that at the very best would de-emphasize the Shabbat. At the very worst, say that the Sabbath doesn't really matter. The Sabbath is in your heart. You don't need to observe it. Yeah. If you believe God is in charge, and if you believe genocide...
Isn't Sabbath just Sunday? For Christians, it is. It's supposed to be like the day for church, the day of rest. For Jews, it's different. It's Saturday, and it's actually from sundown on Friday night until sundown on Saturday night. And for not even like secular Jews don't even follow this practice for the most part, but like more conservative, like more fundamentalists, or like Orthodox Jews and whatnot, will actually follow Shabbat, or will have a dinner on Friday night, but then for that entire time frame, they won't use any tools, like they won't use any electricity, they won't use any equipment. That's the reason why if you go to like Cedar Sinai, if you go to Cedar Sinai, I think is one of the hospitals. Like if you go to a hospital like that on Saturday, there's a Sabbath elevator. You can't press any buttons, so the elevator will literally stop at every floor in order to make it easier for Jews to, for not Jews but like Orthodox Jews to not have to press any buttons or anything like that. But then also on top of that, this is one of my favorite aspects of Judaism in general. And Felix Biederman likes to say it's very similar. Mormonism is very similar to Judaism for this reason as well. There are so many like interesting ways to break the rules. So one of my favorite aspects is that Orthodox Jews can hire a Shabbos goy, okay? Which is, and some people in this community have probably done this because it's like the easiest way to make a buck where you don't really do anything. But on Saturdays, you can literally press buttons for your Orthodox Jewish clients in their stead. So this is like a funny loophole that exists where you go and you help around the house. And of course then, the thin Jew line. Okay, well I know that too. Come on. Yes, there is a thin line that actually encompasses the entirety of Manhattan and even Brooklyn as well. That is also supposed to, what is it again? I forget the thin. Well, the thin Jew line is the meme, but there's a thin piece of string that is connected. A fishing line encircles Manhattan, protecting the sanctity of Sabbath. Yeah. It's just like a wire. A clear fishing line is tied around the island of Manhattan. It's attached to posts around the perimeter of the city from 1st Street to 126th. The string is part of an eruv, a Jewish symbolic enclosure. Most people walking on the streets of Manhattan do not notice it at all, but many observant Jews in Manhattan rely on the string to leave the house on the Sabbath. The concept of an eruv was first established almost 2,000 years ago to allow Jews to more realistically follow the laws of Sabbath rest. Particularly one, no carrying on the Sabbath. According to the laws of the Sabbath rest, nothing can be carried from the domestic zone into the public zone on Saturday. That means no carrying house keys or a wallet. It also means no pushing a baby stroller. For parents of young children, no carrying would mean not leaving the house on Saturday. The eruv symbolically extends the domestic zone into the public zone, permitting activities within it that would normally be forbidden to observant Jews in the Sabbath. Strict observant of Sabbath is not just an Orthodox thing. I know plenty of observant but not Orthodox Jews that have all sorts of strict restrictions with that. My college roommate loved to smoke weed but couldn't use a lighter on Friday night, so he would light a candle before the sun set. So God is just like, that's all right. I mean, that's the whole point about being an observant person of any religion, don't you think? You're consistently trying to big brain this omnipotent, omnipresent being. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, but many religions do this. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's funny. Anyway, here's another loophole that's insane. I knew my decade plus of Talmudic study would come in hand. Lemefeal. What's the other loophole? What is this? Sell your chametz for Passover? What does that mean? Since it's prohibited to possess chametz on Passover, any chametz left undisputed must be sold to a non-Jew. All such chametz, as well as all chametz utensils, were not thoroughly clean, should be stored away. The storage area should be locked or taped shut for the duration of the holiday. Oh, it's the bread. Also, yeah, I mean, y'all don't even know about kosherizing a kitchen with flamethrowers. Yeah, did you know that? This, I feel like, is an Orthodox tradition, no? Because I've only seen Orthodox Jews do this. I've never seen, like, observant Jews that are not Orthodox do this, but yeah. please tell me about the flamethrowers? So you're supposed to kosherize the entire kitchen. I think what, like after, is it after? I don't know. I forget what it is, but it's like, that's high MMR Judaism? Yes. Yes.
We're very strict, so we begin by koshering the floor.
Yep.
That was just a joke. But why are we running a flame throughout a kitchen that is already kosher? Because for the holiday of Passover, Pesach, we refrain from eating chametz, any food that is leavened. And for that matter, any surfaces that came in contact with such foods must be koshered by flame, especially if it was hot foods that were there.
Thing gets hot very fast, so I stick my head out of the window every few minutes to cool off.
We're done, and we can now begin cooking for 500 people attending our different seders. But we'd be happy to kosher your kitchen for you for a few rubles. We wish you happy Passover.
Yeah. Client of mine is an Orthodox rabbi. They would have me over for Shabbos. Occasionally, they would ask me to flip a switch in the fridge for the light or a bedroom light or whatever. Real ones know the rich folks just have 2 kitchens, one for meat and one for dairy. Yeah. I thought the reason for kosher, the one aspect of kosher that's like very different than halal is not cooking meat and dairy in the same kitchen, or not using meat and dairy. You can drink dairy if you want, you can use dairy products if you want, but you can't do it alongside one another. And it's because you're not supposed to drown the baby in the mother's milk or something. Isn't that what it is? I don't think there's like a sanitary reason for it. Yes, the goyim to flip light switches and cut flowers and stuff is called a Shabbos goy. Yeah, Jewish loopholes for Sabbath are as Jewish as lying about going to church as Christian. Yep. Cook the baby, not drown it. Something like that, right? Isn't that what it is? That's right. But you can have chicken and eggs still. Lol, makes no sense. Yeah. That's also part of the reason why the IDF actually offered more severe punishments to a bunch of Jewish soldiers than they ever did for, like murdering children or whatever, because they made hot dogs on Saturday and they served it to the rest of the military. And because it was Saturday, they were not supposed to be working. So it was non-kosher. Only non-Jews are supposed to be working on Saturdays and cooking. So they basically cooked the rest of the brigade or whoever ate those hot dogs as well, right? Yeah, the forbidden glizzy is real. Look it up. I think it was like 3 or 4 IDF soldiers that were like severely punished. Yeah, IDF soldiers sentenced to 20 days in prison for making hot dogs on Shabbat. The pair were caught by a third soldier who entered the kitchen and saw them committing the act. 2 soldiers have been sentenced to 20 days in military prison after being caught warming up hot dogs in a military kitchen on Shabbat, according to Con 11 report on Friday. The pair were caught by a third soldier who entered the kitchen and saw them committing the act. They were summoned to trial, where they initially denied the charges but later confessed and were sentenced to 20 days in prison. One of the soldiers' father said that the punishment is disproportionate, illogical, and constitutes a complete lack of understanding of the disciplinary law. Their actions damaged the kosher food of all the soldiers in the unit. The incident is contrary to the values of the IDF and what is expected of those who serve in it. Isn't that crazy? Like, not the fact that they follow such strict religious protocol, but the fact that they got, like, the fact that these guys got worse punishments than, like, people who murder children or, like, rape Palestinian prisoners. Court-martial for a ballpark dog. That's right, but you can have chicken and eggs. This one is maybe the most nuts. If I get deported back to Israel for revealing this stuff, I swear. The Kapparat ceremony? What the fuck is this? Since late Talmudic times, there's been widespread Jewish custom to perform Kapparat in preparation for Yom Kippur. Kapparat literally means atonements. Kapparat consists of carefully, see instruction below, for passing a chicken over one's head. Oh, I think I've heard of this before. The chicken is then slaughtered in a humane fashion in accordance with the laws of kashrut. The chicken itself is discreetly donated to a charitable cause, such as yeshiva or orphanage, where it is eaten just as any other chicken. Alternatively, chicken is sold and its value donated. We ask of God that if we were destined to be the recipients of harsh degrees in the new year, may we be transferred to this chicken in the merits of this mitzvah of charity. If a chicken is unavailable, one may use any kosher fowl other than doves or pigeons, which were offered as sacrifices in the holy temple. Some use a live kosher fish. Others perform the entire rite with money and then give the money, at least the value of a chicken, to charity. Yeah, no, I know they swing the chicken over the heads to transfer. I didn't know that it was to transfer your guilt to the chicken, though. That is objectively Catholic, which I guess came after. So technically, they might have stolen that from the Jews. The more you know. We don't transfer our guilt. Catholics internalize and hold on to the guilt. Wait, I thought that Catholics also, they do confession. Isn't confession supposed to be, you say, 10 Hail Marys and then you're forgiven or something? So what happens to the orphan that ends up eating the chicken? Does the guilt transfer to the orphan, the unsuspecting orphan? How does that work? Or is it just gone when the chicken is dead? No, because it was donated. Anyway, all right. What the fuck am I doing? We got into this rabbit hole because we were looking at Charlie Kirk. I was describing to you the non-Jewish Charlie Kirk following the Jewish practice of Shabbat, not in a Christian way, but in a Jewish way.
1:1, because the Shabbat is a question of whether or not you believe Genesis 1:1, and if you believe Genesis 1:1, then you honor the Sabbath. If you have questions about Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth.
Bro, this got to be philo-Semitism, right? Am I crazy? Can the Jewish Hasanabi heads correct me if I'm wrong on this? But this is like
Earth, which is Bereshit, right? Is the first truth claim of the scriptures. Then on the seventh day you rest.
He's also trying to engage in some sort of religious copium to try to tie it back to Christianity somehow. You know what I mean? He's like, no. It's actually the Christian way to do this thing that many Jews don't even do. That's crazy. This would be very weird if Charlie Kirk came out. Okay, I'm Muslim. I'm not a very good Muslim. I'm not a practicing Muslim, right? But if Charlie Kirk came out and was like, well, the Bible also tells me to wash my body, my belly button, behind my ears 5 times a day, and then get a prayer mat out and present it in the direction of the Kaaba so I can pray. Or, as a Christian, I practice fasting during Ramadan from sun up to sundown. No drinking water, no eating food, no nothing. I'd be like, that's insane. That's wild. Okay? That's a wild thing that you're doing. Why are you doing that? I don't even do that. Well, I can't believe you're doing that without being Muslim. He's doing too much, is what I mean. It's called Messianic Judaism. Basically, it's attempting to convert Jews to evangelical Christianity, is what Erika was doing to the dad in the CBS town hall.
Because God created the heavens and the earth. It is the longest standing.
Isn't that the opposite of Messianic Judaism? Trying to convert Jews into Christianity is the opposite of what he's doing. This is like him personally converting to Judaism.
Celebration of time of the creation of the heavens and the earth. And so that realization changed my life. I could talk about this from many different dimensions, what it's meant for me personally, what it means on the macro. I will challenge the Christian church because I believe this is the most ignored commandment of the Decalogue to our own detriment. And I will go a step further and then I'll stop talking because I know we have a whole program, which is that I believe that honoring the Sabbath is the commandment that allows you to honor the other 9 commandments. and that the enemy has gone after the honoring the Sabbath.
Bro, religion is so crazy, man. What are you talking about, dude? It's it's just, I don't even, when these guys start talking about the Decalogue and shit, I'm just so checked out. Whereas like you couldn't find a different hobby. Like it literally, I don't understand what you're doing with these specific rules. Like get into Dungeons and Dragons, man. Yu-Gi-Oh is right there. Pokemon cards is right there. And you were like, nah, I'm going to do this. And then they sit around and they yap endlessly and be like, well, Deuteronomy 17:48 actually, has a very different approach to this. I'm like, I don't care. What do you mean? Like, why do I have to act like you're telling me something that, bro, this is on Islam as well? No, I agree. But if someone was trying to tell me surahs, I'd be like, no. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get me to have a level of investment in this that you yourself have gotten, okay? Just because a lot of other people have a level of investment in this doesn't still change my perspective on this. To me, it reads as like, you're doing Elden Ring lore, except Elden Ring lore is actually cool and interesting. No, the claim is that Jesus fulfills Judaism, so Jews should go all the way and follow Jesus. So you're a Jew who believes in Jesus while honoring the Jewish traditions as well as Christian ones. You keep the Old and the New Testament laws and practices. It's not a hobby, it's a calculated indoctrination technique. Goal is to trick Jewish fans into thinking Christianity is more like Judaism by incorporating the parts that those hyper-religious Jews can't let go of. Yeah, I'm not even talking about this in particular. I'm also talking about like when he will make an argument and then source the Bible for his argument. And I'm like, that's not a thing that I'm going to agree with you on. Okay? You might as well be sourcing Warcraft lore to tell me why your position is correct and mine is incorrect. Like that's it. To me, that's crazy. It's the same for, even if you were to source the Torah or the Quran, I have the same exact attitude for the record. Like, unless we're directly talking about religious rules or something, it is not something that I care about,
Because then it is easier to weaken the other 9. And I'll prove it to you. If you're honoring the Sabbath, it's definitionally easier to honor your mother and father because you're not working that day and you're with family. If you're honoring the Sabbath, it's easier not to covet your neighbor's wife because you're not around your neighbor's wife, you're with your family. And you're filled with gratitude that day. When you're honoring the Sabbath, it's easier to have no other gods before God because that day is built in time as a temple, as a sanctuary to put God first, to not have idols, to not take the Lord's name in vain. The other 9 commandments are made easier, are made more accessible for our broken, fleshly, depraved nature if we prioritize the Shabbat.
Powerful, isn't it? This isn't about legalism, it's about accepting a gift from God, a gift of rest and relationship. Don't just take His word for it. I challenge you, open your Bible, read the 4th commandment, and then set aside a Saturday. See for yourself if you experience what Charlie did.
Isn't it easier to cheat on your wife if the other woman isn't working? Yeah, if you're not at home, I guess. I don't know. Where the challenge does. Yeah, dude. Except low-key, because of all the restrictions, it's literally a challenge. It's not like he's saying, oh, yeah, just take some time out on Saturday and don't work. It literally does turn into work in and of itself because you can't even flip a button. That's the reason why there's so many rules around it. You can't leave your house unless there is a string. If you're going to carry shit, I don't know. I'm telling you, he got too deep into the lore and accidentally converted himself into Judaism. The Hadith book says the messenger Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, said, a strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than a weak believer. Although every individual possesses some sort of virtue, endeavor to participate or facilitate activities which will be of benefit to you. So technically, gaming is recommended as it's good for this community, Hassan. That's an insane way to wrap up this part of the broadcast. Okay, let's finish the Erika Kirk town hall,
He
please.
kept for 25 hours starting sundown on Friday night through sundown on Saturday night. What made Charlie so passionate about this subject?
He was on the verge of burnout, and he thought to himself, what can I be doing? And he always loved the 10 Commandments. And then he saw it, honoring the Sabbath. And he realized that if you don't, this one commandment, this one, if you don't honor it, you're the one who misses out on the gift, not God.
Are you keeping it?
I'm trying my best.
Is it
That's a
helping?
no.
It is. I feel close to him. I break it apart, though. So instead of a full 24 straight, I'll break it apart only because my mom's sick and I need to be available.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Well, that doesn't work that way, huh? Christians love lying. No, she basically said, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Yeah, skill issue. Me, I'll stay in bed all Saturday if I wanted to. It's just like, this is literally on Sunday? No, they filmed it beforehand, but it was released on Saturday night. Yeah, I do fasting for Ramadan, just in pieces. So you ain't pressing no buttons on Saturday. If I catch your ass tweeting on Saturday, I'm calling it out. The hell do you mean?
Because I'm her medical power of attorney, so I need to be available if something happens. And so I make it what works for me. But that's what was so beautiful about that. Charlie wasn't legalistic about it. He's like, make it your own.
Erika, you have made a lot of comments that a lot of people have noticed about women, suggesting, you know this, right? Suggesting that women should get married young, that they should have children young, that they should prioritize family over their careers. And at the same time, you are now doing both. You now have 2 young children, I think both under the age of 3. And you're the CEO and chairwoman of Turning Point. Square that for us. Right. Some people look at you and say, you know, she's trying to make it a binary choice. You can be the trad wife or the girl boss, but look at her. She's having both. What do you say to them?
Right. Well, I didn't ask for this. Obviously it's a blessing that I view it as a blessing. It's a duty to my husband. But I was very happy being a stay-at-home mom. There's nothing wrong with being a mother. There's actually more beautiful and emotional and powerful job title, if you will, being a mother. And for me, I experienced what it was like living in New York, living that boss babe culture. But when I met Charlie and we had our babies, I was in it. That was all hands on deck. I would take that world in a heartbeat, always. But you know what? There was never any daylight between Charlie and I, and his mission was my mission. So stepping into this role is not so much a job title. This is not a 9-to-5 for me. This is something that I'm very passionate about because it's still a remaining breathing version of my husband, this Turning Point USA. So this organization is not just a company to me. And the staff and employees are not staff and employees, they're family. And so for me, it's a lot different and a lot deeper than a career. This is very personal. But yes, it is hard. But at the same day, it takes a village, and I have one heck of a village.
We have a woman here that has a question perfectly calibrated to this part of our conversation. I want to hand it over to Isabella Reggi.
Thank you. And Erika, you and your family are in my prayers.
Thank you.
I'm a 26-year-old Christian woman living in New York City. I would like to stay
The most victimized minority in America. I hope you're safe, Isabella. It is definitely the constantly under attack. I can't think of a more under attack group of people than conservative Christian women in New York City. The den of sin. Living under the caliphate of Zohar Mamdani.
here long term, but I wonder whether it's sustainable. Do you believe there's a place for women like myself in modern cities who care about having a career, but also marrying a like-minded Christian conservative man?
Well, yeah. So it just depends on where you're looking. You know, if you're on the
I
app.
thought you were talking about marketing professionals. That too. That only plays into it because you're doubly. Marketing professionals are under attack, but you're also extra under attack if you're a marketing professional who happens to be a Christian woman living in New York City, conservative Christian woman living in New York City, looking for a Christian husband.
Apps. I don't know if you're on the apps. I don't know if. I'm not going to ask you your personal journey. But what I will say is when I lived out here, I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and
fly out on a trip to Israel and you can maybe meet whoever the Charlie Kirk equivalent is on the same trip to Israel. That's a real story, by the way. No, I'm not on some like conspiracy shit. That part is real. Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk met on a trip when they were both flying to Israel. And she was like, they were in line to get on the plane. And then I think what happened is she also, she like tried to get a job at Turning Point USA. And I think they like met for the job interview. And then at the end of the job interview, Charlie Kirk said, I can't give you a job because I want to take you on a date. I know so much lore, man. You're in too deep. I'm sorry. I know all of this stuff.
breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than go. I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here. So if you're expecting to marry someone that I was blessed with, like a Charlie, you have to be the type of woman that will attract a Charlie. Are you going to church? Are you going to Bible study? Did you tell your pastor that you are ready for the Lord to bring into your life the man that you've been praying for? You yourself need to be prepared for that man, and only you will know how to do that. Does that mean staying out and going out with the girls? I'm not saying you sit on your couch and all of a sudden he's going to knock on your door and be like, honey, let's rendezvous. Like, that's not how it happens. It's not. Granted, my situation was a little different. I wouldn't do it.
You went to a job interview.
Literally. So this is how good the Lord is. He knew that because I was not dating in New York City, he knew that in order for me to know that that was my man, he had to blanket Charlie as a job interview. Because if that went in, no joke, if he came to me and said, hey, let's go on a date to Bill's Burgers, I'd be like, I am so sorry. Thank you, but no, we're not doing this. That was my mindset. I am not.
They did first meet on a plane trip to, like, on the line to get on a plane to fly out to Israel.
I was not in that headspace. I just wasn't. But God will
Christian birthright.
Work in incredible ways when you surrender the pen for him to write your love story. And when you know that, look, if I remain in the jet stream of God's will, he will provide for me in ways I cannot even imagine. And that is my prayer for you. My prayer for you is to remain open and to remain prayerful and to let people around you know, old school style, I'm ready and I'm looking to get married and having a family. You can always have your career. Being able to have a family truly is a very limited, short window. You can start your career. If you have people and it's amazing business, have other people run it. You can still manage it. You can still pour into it, but you have your babies. And then once your babies are grown and the nest is empty, go back to your career. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't have a career, you have your babies, the Lord's going to inspire something inside of you that you're like, you know what? There's a problem. I have a solution. How many baby companies have been born out of moms? You know, like the little carrier seat or a stroller or something.
We live for that carrier seat.
Right, 100%. I'm not trying to plug them for like something, so I'm just trying not to even say the name. But you understand my sentiment is that there's something really special and beautiful about.
Also, this is low-key the first time she's actually lighting up. I have noticed that 44 minutes in, and this is the first time she's like actually invested in the conversation, which is when she's giving Christian-style dating advice to another young Christian conservative woman. Okay? every other question, she's like, yeah, she's going off script.
Making sure that you are the woman that your future husband deserves and vice versa. Do not settle.
Thank you. Thanks, Isabella. Up next, the emotional moment that Erika Kirk forgave her husband's alleged murderer. Stay with us.
Bro, this is
forgive.
This is making fetch happen. Okay? You're not gonna make fetch happen. Okay? You just can't make fetch happen. It's not happening.
Him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do.
Erika, that moment that we just watched was
Yeah, she was forgiving Benjamin Netanyahu. I gotta stop doing that. I can't stop doing that. She was, between you and I wouldn't forgive Benjamin Netanyahu, but she was. Oh my God.
I was one of millions of people.
That would be really funny if the ADL just kept quiet about Candace Owens being like, Israel killed Charlie Kirk for like the last 3 months, every single day, to an audience of millions. And then the one time I joke about it, they're like, Hassan Piker is the most dangerous anti-Semite in the business. Here he is clearly blaming Israel for the death of Charlie Kirk. And then they just put the beat on me. Instead of yelling at Candace Owens, I'm the main conspiracy theorist here.
Across the world that watched you get up on that stage and forgive the man who murdered your husband. And I think a lot of people looked at it and thought, this is incomprehensible. It's almost baffling. And I want you to speak to those who are unable to understand, really, that act of grace. How is it possible that you can forgive the person that murdered your husband?
I'm not forgetting what he did. I'm not condoning what he did. What he did is sick and evil. So sick and evil.
Bro, look at the vibe shift. I swear to God, she can't. Like, please, look at the way she carries herself in these like pre-canned statements that she clearly practiced before she delivered it on stage here versus how chummy she was getting when she was talking about how as a Christian woman, you can find a good man. You just got to pray the Lord and the Lord will work in mysterious ways about finding a good man or some shit. Like, it just comes across as so insincere.
What I am doing is releasing myself from the enemy's hands, where he could have a foothold in me, and he could be able to just, like I said earlier, you have a choice. Am I going to take that moment? And I will never say anything I don't mean. I really prayed on that moment. That was a game time decision. I'll never say what I don't mean. But am I going to take that moment to say, rally the troops, burn the city down, march in the streets? Or am I going to take that moment and unleash something like we talked about, even greater, more powerful, and say, it's a revival? And let that unleash and let the Lord use it in ways that no one else could have ever imagined.
If you were to meet the man, I won't name him again, accused of murdering your husband, do you know what you would say to him?
Nothing.
You would say nothing?
I have nothing to say to you. Nothing.
Ugh, they're both so fake. Like, I feel like if she was like, yeah, I'd be like, you piece of shit. I feel like that would be more impactful than what's going on here. Like, oh, nothing. And then Barry has to also act like she's genuinely captivated by this conversation that's taking place. They're both phony as.
A difference, Erika, between forgiving someone in a religious and spiritual sense, but also wanting justice for them here on earth?
Oh my God.
But we serve a just God. And I rest easy in knowing that he's sovereign, but he's just. And so let the Lord handle that.
I want to bring in our final audience question for tonight. I want to turn it over to Joe Lavoie.
Hi, thank you. Your faith in this process has been inspiring, and that inspires this question. How are you able to trust God amidst unfair and immense suffering?
Against conservative Christians, conservative white Christians in America, experiencing daily struggles, experiencing daily adversity brought about by non-Christians existing in their space. How do you keep believing, Erika?
One of my favorite books in the Bible is the book of Job. And what's so powerful about that book is that you read it and you go along and you say, how could bad things happen to good people? But what happens at the end of that book?
Guys, you know what's really crazy about what we just watched for the last 3 hours, even though it's a 48-minute video? This is on CBS, brother. This is supposed to be their premier town hall that Barry Weiss was supposed to bring up. This literally is it's like the Christian network. I feel like this is the type of shit that you would watch clips of after they posted it on some kind of third-rate Christian broadcasting network. You know what I mean? Slammed in between two devil-looking televangelists. It's so strange. 700 Club ass vibes. Yeah, it's just down to the way that it's shot, down to the conversations that are taking place. I don't think this is going to cause Americans who are tuning into CBS to be like, wow, I'm overcome with emotion about following my Christian faith. How the this is strange, man. They're Prager-uifying CBS News.
God does restore. He does. Even more so than Job had prior. But when did that happen? It happened when Job prayed for his friends. Even though they were against him, even though there was all this drama, he prayed for his friends. You can call them enemies. That's not saying, oh, Lord, my enemies, no. There's boldness in being able to say, Lord, do what only you can do. And the Lord restored what Job had lost. That's how.
We'll be right back.
That's it, right? There's no
I want
more.
to address something directly.
Yeah, Dan Crenshaw, the girlies are fighting, but I'm not going to cover that. But yeah, the update on this is Erika says she and Candace Owens are meeting tomorrow. Turning Point USA was set to host the stream tomorrow to address Candace's various allegations and conspiracy theories. Also, another update here. Barry Weiss got Heritage and TikTok to sponsor her Erika Kirk Town Hall. Other marketers who lined up for CBS News' Erika Kirk Town Hall included companies whose products and services may have dovetailed with the viewers who tuned in to see the show. Among the Town Hall sponsors were the Conservative Heritage Foundation, Hallow, a mobile app for Christian prayer. Stay prayed up. Shouts out to Marky Mark. That's the one, right? That's the one, right? David, a new animated film from Angel Studios, which specializes in faith-based content, the one that's doing the Animal Farm as well, and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. A small handful of more mainstream advertisers, included Spotify and TikTok, was also present. Yeah. Angel did Sound of Freedom, and also recently the thing that we were looking at, Animal Farm. Anyway, Candace also has said, I'm very much looking forward to this discussion, responding to Erika Kirk. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I do believe that it is far too sweet for Candace Owens to let go. It's far too rewarding for Candace Owens to just like let go from farming this shit. It would be incredibly stupid for her to stop. And no, I'm not going to watch the extended cut that has 17,000 views. That's crazy. Especially because if she falls in line now, after having a private closed door meeting with Erika Kirk, then everyone's going to be like, you're fake. You're fake as shit. And that opens up a new void in the leadership structure. And I will be taking it. Okay. That's right. I'll be getting into the, if Candace Owens drops the ball, I'm going to take over. I'm the real clandestine operator. Okay. I'm the one who will carry the flame. We are Charlie Kirk. I stood unshaken, you know? So it's you're on notice, Candace Owens. You lack the ability to do so, and that's what you think. The f*** do you mean? I love conspiracy theories. You think I can't pull that shit off? You're out of your dang mind? I don't know if you're full-scale evil enough. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to evil max.